Good morning. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Good to be back. On Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He's Griffin. Thanks to everybody who helped out last week while I was away. A lot to do. Still waiting on an opponent. It's down to the Texans and Steelers. If the Bills win as expected, then the Ravens and the Texans open up the NFL's divisional round on Saturday afternoon here in Baltimore. If the Steelers pull off the upset, then the Steelers and Ravens close the divisional round next Sunday night here in Baltimore. Talk about that as the morning goes on. Coming up in a few minutes, our buddy Dan Wilcox will join us, get his thoughts on the Ravens as they will come out of their bye to face one of these teams. Jason Cole, my friend from the 33rd team, longtime NFL writer. We'll talk to him this morning. Sammi Siragusa is in town. We got a big event coming up tonight. We're going to be at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North from 6 to 8 p.m. Sammi will be there. Former teammate or two of Tony Siragusa's will be there. Got a whole crew that's going to be hanging out with us tonight as we launch Goose Flights, which is a new beer from Guilford Hall Brewery celebrating Tony Siragusa, his life and legacy. And $1.98 from every can sold will go to the Goose Flights Foundation. And Sammi will come by today to tell us more about that. You can find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. Tonight, we ask you to come out between 6 and 8 p.m., make a $10 donation. Your first Goose Flights beer is on us, as well as appetizers that'll be out for the event tonight. Going to be a good night. Hope to see you tonight at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. Sammi Siragusa will join us a little bit later, as will Jeremy Conn. Don't have a lot to say. That's the nice part about the fact that my vacation ended up lining up with the bye week is there's not a whole lot to talk about with the games. What?
Well,
What?
Dalvin Cook's on the practice field.
Okay.
They gave him Jamal Lewis's number.
Oh. Okay. Well, I think somehow we'll get by. Somehow, some way, I think we'll see. They gave Fabian Washington Jamal Lewis's number once. I think we're going to be okay.
It was a mistake then.
I think we're going to be okay. Obviously, the 4 games this weekend, 3 of them stunk. Takeaways, I don't know. This is the kind of the weird part is on a day like today, if you watch national coverage, you're going to sell yourself on these are the only teams that matter. These are the teams that are a threat to win the Super Bowl. We do this every year. Every year after Wild Card Weekend, we fixate on the teams that played because it's the most. That's who we are. Recency bias. Shiny red ball. Man, look how good they looked. And, you forget about the other teams. If anything, to me, this weekend was a declaration of just how dramatic the 49ers are as the favorites in the NFC. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Lions. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Packers. Packers obviously were wildly impressive. But I'm hard-pressed to see these teams beating the 49ers. Are the Chiefs again because they beat the Dolphins? I don't think so. I thought even that was kind of imperfect. I think obviously their defense continues to be better than any Chiefs defense we've seen before in the Patrick Mahomes era. I don't know that the Ravens are going to win the AFC, but everything I've seen continues to remind me of why I think that they are the definitive favorites and definitively the best team in the AFC. If you want to laugh at the Cowboys, laugh at the Cowboys. You want to laugh at the Browns, laugh at the Browns. The Lions story is kind of neat, right? Like the tears that you saw Lions fans crying after that game, you get it. They've been through a lot. Drew and I were talking about it this morning over on 105.7. Like, I felt those same tears just with the Orioles playing in the playoffs in 2012. I get it. I understand where they're coming from. Do I believe that they're a threat to win the Super Bowl? It's still a tough sell for me, right? Like, it's still a really difficult thing to get me to buy into. But there's only 10 teams left. One of them's going to win. That's the nature of football. All right, let's begin our morning by catching up with an old friend of ours, former Ravens tight end, of course, the host of the Believe in Ravens podcast. He is our buddy, Mr. Dan Wilcox, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn. It's been too long, brother. Appreciate you as always. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Glenn, man. I hope you guys are having a great day after all this playoff football this weekend. I know you guys are going to have a great show today.
Yeah, it's going to be a great week around these parts, obviously, Dan. I guess let me start with, do you have a preference? Like, it's either going to be the Texans or the Steelers, and I think a lot of Ravens fans are feeling a little bit more fear of the Texans, and given the way they played and C.J. Stroud and all that, than they do the Steelers. But this is still Steelers-Ravens we're talking about. Do you have a preference of which team the Ravens face next weekend?
No, I don't have a preference at all. I feel like we got to be ready for whatever, and I feel like the Baltimore Ravens is definitely like the team to beat. The problem is this league is so weird, man. Like I think every team that I thought would advance, just based off how they played this season and what their record looked like, nothing other than that. Every team I thought that was going to win lost. So you got 3 losses already that just shocked me already. So, I mean, if I had to draw up a playoff bracket, it would be all screwed up and messed up right now. So it's like, to me, every underdog won. We've been the underdog all year, and all of a sudden we're not the underdog right now. We're the team to beat.
That's true. How do you get that edge back, Dan, right? Like, how do you it's funny. It worked so well. You bring it up, right? Like we saw in the 49ers game, like that emotional edge was huge for the Ravens. How do you get that back going into it, whatever this game is going to be this weekend?
It's mentality. I think it's the locker room. I really think that's the biggest part of this whole thing. When you have veteran guys that, have been there and then veteran guys that haven't been there that's played for a while, I think you got a mixture of a good chemistry where you could kind of tell guys, what to expect, or you kind of tell guys that you've never been here and you don't want to waste this opportunity. So it's that conversation that you have between those walls that allow you to be able to have the right mindset going into a situation like this. For guys like Zay Flowers, he just came into the league. All of this is brand new for him. Every single thing is brand new for him. Like, none of this stuff is familiar. Lamar has been in the playoffs before, but he's been in this situation once before, where he was the number 1 seed, had home field advantage, first round bye, and that fell short. So he knows how it feels to lose that game, but he don't know how it feels to win that game. And then you got guys like Van Noy that's already won one, So, it's a good mixture of guys I think they have in the locker room that can really help, spring this thing and bust it wide open for them. Because you got to be on your A game, whether it's Houston or Pittsburgh. Either of these teams can beat you. I would rather see Pittsburgh right now because that last game we kind of just threw them like alley-oop, to get them into the playoffs. But at the same time, I feel like we need to kind of send a message to everybody in Pittsburgh and the world that, that we're the Ravens. Don't forget who we are now. Like we spotted y'all one game, y'all won one with a bunch of drops that we had the first game, and the second game we took the whole team off. We let the whole team sit out, and y'all was playing against the practice squad guys and won one. Now it's for real. Like, let's go. It's us versus you. We got our guy back. We got our guys back. We're healthy. You're healthy. Let's see how this thing goes.
Dan, I feel like you referenced something as you talk about the fact that obviously the Ravens were the 1 seed a few years ago and it didn't go well. I have sensed the last couple of weeks, not just from the team itself, but from the fan base of the city, that there is a confidence that this team is as good as that team was in 2019, and as much as they were running through opponents late, that this is just a dramatically better football team. There just aren't the weaknesses, right? Like they have such an ability to win in different ways. They don't need things to necessarily go their way the way that 2019 team did when they were playing bully ball. Like this team, if they were to fall behind, okay, cool. There's this faith that's not that big of a deal, and this team can dig out of a hole. Do you share the confidence that, again, we can't guarantee the results, but that this team is just better suited than that team was for making a run as the number 1 seed?
I absolutely agree. I think we have way more talent. Like I said it from the beginning of the season, Glenn, this is the most talented offense I think the Baltimore Ravens have ever had in the history of the franchise. And I mean, with the quarterback, the running backs, then you add Dalvin Cook, the tight ends, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Kolar, Patrick Ricard. I mean, that dude's a freak all on his own. I mean, he's different from anything I've ever seen playing on the football field. And then the defense is starting to get those numbers like the defenses that was in my day had. So I mean, some of the greatest defenses of all time. Now the defense is playing well and the offense is stacked, and you have playmakers all over the field. I think it puts us in a much better situation than that 2019 team was. I really do. I feel that in my heart. I know that we have to prepare. We have to prepare like this game is our Super Bowl. We can't prepare and treat it any other way. If we go in here thinking like we're going to run over somebody, you just saw what happened to everybody else that kind of took these things for granted. Everybody else fell short. Even the game versus Green Bay and Dallas. I'm sitting there watching that game, and I'm like, it was the closest. No, it was the LA and the Detroit game.
Mm-hmm.
It was the closest game that you've seen. And I think LA was the sure winners out of that game. They were supposed to be the sure winners, but I think they sat back and they watched everybody else lose games that they should have won, and they was more prepared and they took it more serious than those other two games that lost before them. So it's going to be interesting to see what Buffalo and Pittsburgh will happen that game, because Buffalo should come out of this thing victorious. Pittsburgh shouldn't beat them, but we're going to see what happens, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes down.
Dan, you mentioned Mark Andrews a second ago. Dan Wilcox is with us, of course, here on GCR. It's funny because when I saw last week that Mark Andrews is back on the practice field, I had the same reaction that everybody else did, like, oh, my God, holy S. On top of everything else, you could get him getting Mark Andrews back. But then I had the second to think about it. I'm like, well, boy, they've been Isaiah Likely's been unbelievable. Like, he's been a revelation these last few weeks. Like, how much dramatic difference can it even make at this point? And I say this saying, like, I don't want to sound like the dumb guy. I know it's better to have Mark Andrews back out on the field if you can have him back out on the field. But how much of a difference would it make to have both Andrews and Likely playing at the level that he's been playing at over the course of the last 2 months on the field together in the postseason?
I think you have to sit down real hard, man. And like I told you back when I was there, being a scout with the Ravens, that they would break down the player, player by player, like who's the best and who's the next guy that's better. That's from 1 to 63 or 1 to 53. I think you have to figure out who's your best players, and you got to figure out a way to get them on the field at all times. Isaiah Likely has been absolutely outstanding, in his absence, and Kolar's played great too. We know we got great tight ends, and Patrick Ricard is great too. So you got to figure out who you're going to take off the field to put somebody on the field. And when you look at the outside receiving core, I mean, they're playing their asses off too. I mean, Aguilar, OBJ, Flowers, all those guys have been playing their butts off. So it's like, who do you take off the field to put Mark and Isaiah out there? Mark got to be 100% healthy before I even risk putting them out there. I wouldn't risk putting them out there, getting them hurt again, just for my own greed when we have been playing exceptionally well without him. And I think what happened, Glenn, is that Lamar has so many other talents. He's been able to get the ball to those other talents in Mark's absence. He didn't have to rely on his safety blanket, because sometimes, he would throw the ball to Mark, knowing that Mark would battle and get it, in cover, in double coverage or triple coverage sometimes, and Mark would make a play.
Yeah.
But he realizes he don't have to do that, because now he has studs every freaking where. And Isaiah Likely has definitely showed us, he showed all of us what he's been showing the team, every week in practice. So we already knew that he was that good. We just needed to, he needed more opportunities to get the ball and get more relaxed in the NFL and running routes and sitting in zone, running away versus man, and playing against the coverage that he's going to play against. And he's developing into a superstar tight end. I love it. I
mean, he has legitimately looked like a true superstar, as you point out. Dan, the most likely scenario seems to be that it would be Houston. This is a Texans team that has steadily come along all season, and save for when C.J. Stroud missed those couple of games, has been awesome of late. Like when C.J. Stroud's been on the field, they have been dynamic, and they have been exceptional, and they are talented, clearly. How much of a threat, all that being said, this is also still a team from Texas that be coming up to play in like January weather with a rookie quarterback in Baltimore, and it's expected to be like miserably cold next weekend here in Baltimore. How much of a threat would the Texans be in Baltimore next weekend?
I think they're a threat, period. I just think they're a talented team, man. C.J. Stroud was the guy I felt like should have went first overall in the draft. When I started watching all my film on Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, I was more impressed with CJ than I was with Bryce. And I didn't have the right mindset. I kind of felt like Alabama is stacked with all these studs, O linemen, running backs, receivers. The guys who he's throwing to are all 5-star guys. Ohio State has some of that too, but it's not as much as it is in Alabama. And playing in Alabama has a stigma that comes along with it. If you play us, you're gonna lose. Ohio State has a more of a battling stigma. Everybody doesn't expect to lose to Ohio State, even though they're a good team. They think they can go in there and beat them. Nobody thinks they could beat Alabama. If they stay in the game late, then they say, "Oh my God, we got a chance." Let's try to pull this thing off. But nobody's going to Alabama thinking they're going to beat Alabama. And I think Bryce Young had that benefit. Now he's in Carolina. You don't feel that no more. But CJ down in Houston is turning a franchise that was upside down. He's turning them right side up. And, he came here and played us early in the year. They had a chance to win that game against us as well. But, we still sitting here at 4 losses this year that I felt like we easily could have won. And I feel like we could have easily be undefeated right now. We could be going into this whole playoff thing, with a perfect 17-0 record. We lost 4 games that we really had opportunities to win. We haven't been out of a game all year long. And so I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tight game. But I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to do what Ravens do, and they're going to play like a Raven and pull this thing out.
Is there any part of you that would kind of like it to be the Steelers because, like, it would get you bring up, a couple weeks ago and that whole thing, and then there's also just sort of this thing that lingers where Lamar Jackson's never played well in a win over the Steelers, and it's an anomaly, right? Because he just hasn't played in a lot of those games. It's not like the Steelers have owned Lamar Jackson or something like that, but. Yeah. Boy, it would just kind of feel nice. There would be something very, therapeutic and fun about Lamar sort of shoving down the Steelers in the playoffs en route to trying to win a Super Bowl this year.
Then, I think the fans need that. I don't need that at all. The last time we lost to them was early in the season. It was early in the season when Lamar actually played. We had 18 drops. We dropped 3 touchdowns. It was like one of those games where it felt like somebody put something in everybody's drink and everybody was dizzy or something and nobody could see the ball clearly. It was weird. It was a weird atmosphere. It was like dead birds dropping out of the sky. It just don't happen. But you got 8 to 15 drops in the NFL is unheard of. And it was one of those type games. He was dropping dimes all over the Steelers, and they were just being blessed with one drop after another drop. And it wasn't just Mark Andrews. It wasn't just Zay Flowers. It wasn't just OBJ. It wasn't just, Duvernay and all those guys. It was everybody. Everybody was dropping balls. Running backs, everybody. So that doesn't happen on a regular basis. That won't happen in the playoffs. It won't happen in Baltimore. So, the Steelers have been blessed more times than many. And most of the time they've been blessed not having to see at number 8. So I think even this last game, they had to go against Snoop, not number 8. So I don't think I need that personally. Yeah. I would like to have some people shut up about that whole thing. I was all over going back and forth with some of my buddies about it. Like, bro, come on, man. We spotted y'all the game. Take your spot. Stop acting like y'all better than us and all that type of stuff. They posting pictures with a Steelers stepping on the Raven. It's crazy stuff, man. But I don't need that to feel better. I already know who we are and what type of team we are. And I don't think it matters who we face. I think Lamar has something that he's trying to prove to the world, and I think the whole team is on that same energy. They don't want to see Lamar fail. I think his teammates don't want to see him fail. The way he rolls and the way he moves, everybody's going to be behind him. They're going to back him. They want to see him be victorious. They want to see him get the MVP. They want to see him in the Super Bowl, and they're going to do everything they can to help him get it.
Yeah, they posted a tweet with the, step into the trap, take over the trap. I'm like, are you serious? You're really doing this after you beat the backup? All right, we're doing this. Okay, so there's a part of me that would kind of enjoy that. Dan, but before I let you go, I'm going to pose it to you this way. We know you're a Raven. We know the Ravens are who you care about. We also know that you're an Atlanta guy. So let me pose it to you this way. The Falcons come to you and they say, hey, Dan, we want you to be a consultant for us. We're going to hire one of the 2 Ravens coordinators as our head coach next season. Which of the 2 would you hire?
Man, that's a great question. Todd Monken or Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald got Atlanta roots. He went to high school here at Centennial High School. He played college ball at UGA. He was an intern and coach at UGA for a while. And then you got, Monken, who's the OC at UGA and won national titles. I don't know. even though McDonald he's not homegrown. He's from Boston. You know, he was raised in Atlanta, but from Boston. I think I go with the hometown guy. He's young, he's vibrant, he's fiery. He's going to be able to relate to the players a little bit better, I think, than probably Monken would, even though I think Georgia players love Monken too. I think I would go with the younger coach, you know, and see if I can squeeze some longevity out of him as well, you know. But I think I would go with Mike McDonald. I think if I was Atlanta Falcons, I would choose Mike McDonald, and I would bring a young guy in that has great energy and knows a little bit about Atlanta and that was raised here and you know, played ball here, high school ball and all that stuff here as well. So I think I would go in that direction.
Remind everybody about Believe in Ravens.
Believe in the Ravens podcast, Daniel Wilcox, Kyrie Thompson. We will be putting the episode out this week as well, but we're out there every single week talking about your favorite team, not just the favorite team, but the best team in the world, the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you guys for having me on, Glenn. I always appreciate you guys. Good luck.
Love you, brother. Always appreciate you, dude. It's Dan Wilcox with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time this morning. I am feeling a little bit of that. I posted on Twitter, and we talked about it a little bit over on The Fan this morning. If you are a Ravens fan who would prefer it to be the Steelers, are you rooting for the Steelers today? I've talked about this a million times. I don't care what the scenario is. It could be the Steelers have to win in order for the Ravens to get into the playoffs, like week 18 type of situation, and I'm still not rooting for the Steelers. In my blood, I can't do it. I can never root for the Steelers. Now I can acknowledge afterwards, like, hey, this was a better result for me. I can acknowledge this was a better way for things to go. I can do any of those things. But what I can't do is root for the Steelers. That can't happen. Today, I couldn't sit down and watch the game and say, wow, Deontay Johnson just scored a touchdown. All right. Like, I can't do it. I would always prefer to see the Steelers lose. Now, after the game is over, I'm going to say to myself, like, all right, maybe it's a better scenario. I don't know. But I also feel a lot of the same things that some other people are feeling too, right? Like, I kind of want it to be the Steelers because I kind of want Lamar Jackson to have his moment. I'm sick of that anomaly existing, and I kind of want Lamar Jackson to have his moment and play well in a win over the Steelers. Obviously, he's beaten the Steelers before but didn't play well, and he's played really well against the Steelers earlier this year but lost the game. Like, those things, he's played well against the Steelers and he's beaten the Steelers, but he's never played well in a win over the Steelers. That's never happened. So, selfishly, I'd kind of like that to happen, to just get it over with already. That would be really nice. That would be really, really nice. Code remains Glenn Clark 23 when you sign up at Superbook. Download the Superbook app. Go to superbook.com right now. The lines for today currently: Bills -10, Buccaneers +3. Those are the lines for the two games that are still to come today in the wild card round. I originally bet the Bills. The weather is making me regret that bet. Again, I said this, we're not going to do picks recap today because there's still two more games we played. I'm 3-1 so far, but I told John in Little Rock before the game, if I had known when I was on that boat last week when I couldn't get any internet, boy, do I have a story to tell about that. If I had known what the weather was going to be in Kansas City on Saturday night, I absolutely would not have picked the Dolphins. I said that before the game. I'm like, I'm going to lose this one, and it sucks. Because I just had no knowledge of that in the 5 minutes that I was able to get online and make picks. I feel the same way about the Bills thing. Like, I picked the Bills, but now they can't even clear. They are going to have people show up at the stadium today with nowhere to sit. They are not going to be able to clear all of the snow out of the stadium today.
No, everybody's got their shovels. They're gonna.
No, they're like openly acknowledging it. They can't pull it off. And in fact, there are some sections where there's not even room for people to stand. They're going to try to take care of that before the game begins, but they're running out of time. It's going to be wild. So I don't like, as much as I did last week, I don't like that number. It's just a big number given what the conditions are going to be. I think they'll be able to have I know there's still supposed to be snow squalls today, but I think they're supposed to be able to get the field cleared before the game, so it'll be interesting to see how significant that impact is. This just kind of feels like one of those games where Get a lead, grind it out. Who cares how many points you win by? Get it over with. Nobody wants to be here today. That type of situation. So I'm not feeling that pick quite as much today.
Yeah,
as I
12-0, I think they cover.
Yeah, 12-0 is the number you have in mind. Yeah, that would work. That would work. Again, Glenn Clark 23 is the code. Use it at superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. All right, so, yes?
Yeah.
All right, we'll figure that out is the answer. We'll figure it out. We got a lot more to do as we continue along here on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Conn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along here on a Monday edition of the program. And I told you about this at the top of the show. I'm just so excited about tonight. We are going to be at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North from 6 to 8 p.m. And seeing this all come to fruition from what was just an idea, it was just sort of a thought process a couple months back, has been really amazing. As tonight we're going to be celebrating the release of Goose Flights, a new beer from Guilford Hall Brewery. And it's special because you guys know I've talked a lot over the last 2 years about how much Tony Siragusa meant to me and how much I think he meant to this franchise. And I've tried to explain to people that are the age of someone like Griffin that can't possibly understand it, that once upon a time there was a frostiness, there was almost an awkwardness between the Ravens and this city. Like, there was a lot of people in this town that were conflicted about their emotions, about having somebody else's team, because we had a team taken from us once upon a time. And the man who went out of his way, David Modell did too, but the only person in that category that might have been more significant going out of their way to make this city fall in love with this team before they ever won a Super Bowl was the great Tony Siragusa. And we have partnered with the Siragusa family for Goose Flights. And Sammi Siragusa, who we had our first conversation, you and I, about a year ago after Bullies of Baltimore aired. And it was so moving to me when I watched it the first time, because I was like, oh, my God, this movie is a love story for Tony Siragusa. Like, that's what this film is. And it just blew me away so much for the country to be able to see that and to like learn a little bit about why we cared so much. And I can only imagine how much it's meant to you, and I appreciated the words that you shared on social media about it last week. It's great to see you again.
Yes, great to see you as well.
But let's go back a year ago when it hit, and when maybe people in your life that like didn't really know the story of your dad, like knew he was a football player. How much did the 30 for 30 like make people like realize, oh my God, I didn't know how special your father was?
Right. Well, firstly, thank you for all the kind words about my dad. It means a lot to hear. And, you know, I think you said it perfectly. You said it perfectly in our previous interview about how the 30 for 30 Bullies of Baltimore was a love letter to my dad. And that's stuck with me for the past year, too, because I genuinely believe or agree with you on that. It showed that not only was he skilled on the field, but the charisma that he had, the way that he interacted with the players and coaches, you know, they were one big family.
We've never, like in the modern era, there has been nothing like it. And I've told you that a couple of times. There is no comparison that I can give. There have been athletes that have been great and beloved, and there has been nothing like the relationship between this city and this person. And it's why all of this kind of was so serendipitous, right? Like it's all worked out the same way. Like this is perfect. We need to do this. That's the way that it should work. And it's been so cool for me to see you get to see it from the city of Baltimore.
Yeah, you know what? I could not be more proud of my dad and the way that he's carried himself through being a professional athlete, a Super Bowl champion, just the way that he's handled himself throughout all of these years. And you know, obviously my heart's broken and will never be repaired that, you know, he's not here today, but it's an absolute honor to continue on his legacy the way that we are through Goose Flights and just see the love that Baltimore has for him. And they're really they're showing up for us and the Siragusa family. So I'm honored.
We're going to talk more in a second about the beer and Goose Flights and what you guys are doing, but there's a couple of questions that came to me that I haven't asked you that I wanted to. And one of them was, I am nobody, right? Like, I'm a talk show host. But I had someone about a month ago say, hey, remember, because I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old and I have an 8-year-old son. Remember when you're out working that you've got to be their dad, too. That you can't just be the personality. You can't just be the host. You've got to also, in the same breath, still be their dad. And it got me to thinking about this simultaneous role that your dad played. And the funny thing is I was going to say to you is I appreciate that you shared him with us. In looking back now, do you have almost greater reverence for how capable he was of simultaneously being both things? This beloved, frankly, global figure, right? Like actor, popular, you know, broadcaster later, and also being an attentive there for you father at the exact same time.
I am truly amazed at how he was so gracefully able to handle all of the publicity, all of the attention, being in the spotlight. But at the end of the day, always remembering where he came from and what his priorities were. And that was his family was number one above everything. I had a 45-minute conversation with McCreary the other day. Who was on the defense with my dad.
Yep.
And he was telling me all these stories about my father, but one thing that he mentioned was we always knew at the end of the day, family was number one to him. And for McCreary to say that and reiterate that, even after all of the years of playing with my dad, it spoke volumes to me too, because not only did his family know that, but his teammates knew that.
The sense that, you know, we talked before, you were young when he was playing. You were barely, you know, you said you had like a vague memory, right, of him winning the suit, like, but it's vague because you were so young. Yeah. When did it strike you? Like, at what age did you realize, like, oh, like, people really care about my dad?
That's a good question. I think it took a while. It took many years. our whole family always knew how to keep him humble. He was humble himself, but sometimes we needed to bring his feet back to the ground.
Wait, he was humble? I'm not going to allow you to just move past that sentence. He was humble? When?
Okay, maybe. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But where were we?
When you realized, at what point you realized, like, oh, man, Dad's a big deal.
I think it took actually going to the Super Bowl with him years later, being older, and just going to work with him. Seeing him on the sidelines, just doing his thing in front of the cameras. And then also, Super Bowl, obviously, there's a lot of media that you have to do. And so he took me through Media Row with him to all the interviews, the press, sort of like what I'm doing right now for
the
Goose
beer.
Flights.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yes, but obviously his was on another level, and I was like, wow. But it was always love from everybody. Everybody it gave him love and love and love, and it was just really cool to see.
Sammi Siragusa is in studio with us right now. Tonight, our official launch party for Goose Flights at Guilford Hall Brewery. Want you to join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Sammi will be there, as she mentioned, the former teammate, maybe more, might be stopping by during the course of the event. We're going to have, what we're asking for you to do is make a $10 donation to Goose Flights. And when you do, your first beer tonight will be on us, as well as appetizers and food during the event. It's just going to be a fun opportunity to come hang out and tell stories, which is what we want to know. And I'm sure that's part of it, is it like you genuinely enjoy hearing people tell you stories about the time they were out, drinking with your dad at the barn on a Thursday night.
Yes, they're endless. The stories are endless, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to end at the end of the story, I'm going to be cracking up laughing.
That's the way it goes. For people that don't know about Goose Flights, and why it is that this all worked out so serendipitously for us to be able to not only release the beer and have a cool beer with that silhouette of your dad doing the goose, but for it to also benefit something that's so important to you and your family. Tell everybody about what Goose Flights is.
So something that most people don't know about my father was in 2014, he co-founded a private aviation company. And the years have gone by, and he was growing the company with his partner, Titan Aviation Group. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he was growing the company with his partner and decided that they got to such a great place within the company, and he wanted to utilize his network and resources for good in a way to give back. So this was a couple months before his passing that he started chatting about this idea that he had. And so after his passing, I sort of stepped in and founded Goose Flights with my siblings. And Goose Flights, essentially, we do non-emergency medical transportation. And we utilize jet charter along with ground transportation and other ways to transport veterans, children, active duty military, and really anyone battling a severe illness to get to better healthcare facilities, hospitals, doctor's appointments, whatever it may be.
That's amazing. And you told me something earlier today that I thought was really cool that I didn't know about what you guys are doing when you do have to transport someone. Like, you bring out the ring. You give them, like, the whole Tony Siragusa experience.
If that ring was sitting in a closet, not being shared, my dad would come down and haunt me. He would come down and haunt all of us. Are you kidding me? So what better way to keep the ring around and alive than bring it on these trips with us and show our recipients. Let them feel it, touch it. And it's one of the most memorable experiences for them. They really appreciate it.
By the way, I saw this earlier this morning and I brought it up, but can you show that camera right there, your necklace, so everybody can see this amazing Ravens Super Bowl ring necklace that Sammi Siragusa has? This might be my favorite. This is the real problem. I actually can't have my wife see that because then she's going to demand that I figure out a way to make one for her. I need to make sure that Mrs. Clark does not notice that ring necklace, because that is the coolest thing that I have ever seen. That's so great. All right, you and I talked a little bit earlier, the Mickey shirt. So last week I was away. I was on a Disney cruise with my kids. There was a lot of Mickey in my life last week. It is, when we think about, like, things that I associate with your dad, it's funny because my family, my parents and my brother, or my sister and my brother-in-law went on this trip as well. And they requested we all wear this, like, Mickey polo shirt And the first thing I thought of when they gave it to me was like, oh, this is Tony Siragusa's shirt, right? The story behind, like, do you know the story behind why Tony Siragusa, tough guy of tough guys, paraded around the Super Bowl wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt?
Because my dad, one thing he would always say, it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. All the time.
He nailed that. He nailed that.
Hence why he just wanted to stand out. He wanted to show everybody his big personality, you know. And I'm sure there might be more to the story, but that's what I'm going off of here. He just wanted to be different. He wanted to stand out.
So you told me that like the shirt kind of went away. It disappeared at some point.
Yeah.
What's the whole story behind this?
So that shirt, I mean, he wore it under all of his jerseys every time that he would play. And I don't know exactly where the shirt is now, but when when my father was filming the 30 for 30, I was there with him with my brother. And as he was filming, one of the producers came out and had the exact same shirt. It was new, obviously not worn, but had the exact same shirt. And when I tell you, I have the chills saying this right now, my dad's face absolutely lit up, and he was like,
cool.
"Where did you get that from?"
That's so cool.
I swear, you know what? He maybe even wanted to shed a tear a little bit.
That is so cool. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. It's my favorite thing. It's all I could think about last week. As I was like, man, I would love to know where that shirt is. I would love to know who has it. I would love somehow we could like put it on display somewhere because it is. I'm sure that you guys would probably want it yourselves, but like
we'll put it right in your office.
It is such an iconic shirt in Baltimore sports history. It's such a cool thing. Let me cover just a couple. With Sammi Siragusa is in studio with us as we're getting ready for tonight. By the way, I had a couple people that are out of towners that are listening that asked if they could make a donation. Where would they go about doing that?
Oh, yes. Very sweet. Thank you for the support. You can give a donation on www.gooseflights.org, and you'll be taken to our website, and it'll just walk you through all of the prompts.
We joked earlier that it must have been difficult for you to be embarrassed by your dad because everything was embarrassing about your dad. We say that in a loving way,
Yeah,
of course, right?
Yes.
The story that he told during the 30 for 30 about the enema, of course, stands out quite significantly on that list of embarrassing things. You told a story earlier today, and for a different audience, I'd love to have them hear it, about the one thing that maybe did manage to embarrass you that he was able to pull off as you were growing up.
So my dad loved to embarrass everybody. It was his form of entertainment and stimulation.
Yes.
And so
and frankly, if he didn't, and I know these types of people because I'm not all that dissimilar, it was also kind of the way that he told you that he loved you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If he wasn't trying to embarrass you, then you should worry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there was this one time, it sticks out in my mind. I was in high school, or no, I wasn't in high school. I was in middle school. And you know, the parents, they all line up their cars around to go pick up the kids in their normal cars. Well, my dad, he bought a old Lincoln convertible, Lincoln Continental convertible. He had the top down and the music blasting, pulling up to my school with every single student out front, all of the parents in their regular cars,
Right.
and there's
Normal.
my dad.
Yeah.
Suicide doors. I was so embarrassed when he came over. He's hysterically laughing, the biggest smile on his face. Couldn't wait for me to get in the car. I get in the car and I slid all the way to the bottom trying to hide.
I want to imagine in this scenario that he's like using your government name as he's like yelling out to you, like he's doing the whole like, "Hey, it's Dad.
Yeah.
Samantha, it's Dad. I'm over here. It's your dad. I love you." Like I'm imagining him going to those lengths as he's doing this.
Oh yeah, you know, my dad, there was just no boundaries at all. But we got him back sometimes. We
Okay.
did. We
Okay.
did.
Do you have a story that you
I
could?
do.
Okay.
I have a good one actually. So, you know, it was hard to get him back, right? But there was this one time he was home from training camp.
Okay.
And he was taking a nap on the couch. And me and my sister, we got nail polish and we painted all of his toes.
Hell yeah, you
with
did.
bright pink glitter.
Yeah, you did.
All over his toenails. Well, he gets to training camp. I don't know what teammate saw it, but they saw his toes. They're like, Goose, what the? He started. He was like, oh my gosh, my kids had no idea.
That is a 10.5.
Yeah.
That is a 10.5. That is so great. They didn't even notice.
Nope.
That is perfect. Now, also, there's a part of me that wonders if he just kind of didn't rock it after that. Like after he noticed, he was embarrassed for a second. Then he was like, yeah, hell yeah, I got pink glitter.
He probably did. Are you kidding?
Yeah, 100%.
Then later in life, he decided to start and get pedicures. That was his thing.
I mean, I don't blame him for that. I didn't get one for like the first 35 years of my life, and I made fun of people who did, and I would like yell at my wife for how much she would spend on that. And then I got my first pedicure, and I was like, oh, I get it.
You get it.
I get it.
They're
I
good.
completely understand. I think I'm a pedicure guy now. Like, I totally understand the feeling. The context that you now have, and I know there's sadness because of him passing, but the context you have for, I could have been anyone's daughter. I could have been anyone's kid. And I don't want to take anything away from your mom in this, right, whatsoever. But the context that you now have as an adult for how lucky you were, how grateful, can you put into words what it has meant to you to be Tony Siragusa's daughter?
Well, you know what? I think in life we're all given a God-given purpose. And I genuinely believe that this has something to do with something that's bigger than myself. And my dad, he set a path for me in all of the beautiful ways that he did. In his 55 years of life, he set a path for me in life. And I believe that, not only am I honored to be his daughter, but I believe that I'm here to impact lives for the better. And that is really special to me.
So well said. That's so well said. It's powerful, and it's why we're doing this, right? Like, it's why this is happening. And I know you all doing much bigger work than just our silly beer, but like, it's the idea that we can help in some small way and do it in a way that's fitting and doing it in a way that we think your dad would dig. Like, we think he would be like, oh, a beer? Yeah. Yeah, that works. That one works for me. I had someone ask, oh, hang on, I got to pull up who this was. This was Chris said, I'd love to know what it was like to go to dinner with Tony. If at any point you had to ever pull him away from the table and say, Dad, don't forget you have football to play.
Going to dinner with him was ordering one of everything.
Yeah.
I'll say that. We tried it all. We had all our eyes were bigger than our stomachs. His especially. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But
no, I mean, in fairness. So I think about, was it like the typical Italian like Sunday dinner routine with your family?
Yeah. Oh, we grew up. That was, like I said earlier, family was number one.
Yeah.
Every Sunday we knew Sunday dinner at home. That was it. You could bring whoever you want, but we're sitting at that table as a family.
Yep.
And we're eating together.
And was it everything? Was it like,
it was the pasta, the macaroni, the bread sauce, the gravy we call it, the meatballs, the ricotta, you name it. Mom chefed it up for us.
The gabagool? Was there gabagool?
Gabagool. Are you kidding me?
Gosh. Do you, so like when you watch The Sopranos, do you find yourself saying like, yeah, I don't need to, I know that life. Like, I don't really need to watch this.
Right.
I understand it in my heart of hearts.
You understand it. We understand it on a level very deep.
That is so cool. All right, tonight, 6 to 8 p.m., Guilford Hall Brewery, Station North. That's where we're going to be for the launch party for Goose Flights. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/Goose Flights to find out more, because it's not just tonight, but the beer will continue to be available at not only Guilford Hall Brewery, but all of the Glory Days Grills, 7 Glory Days Grills locations in the state of Maryland. And $1.98 from every purchase, fitting number, obviously, $1.98 from every can of Goose Flights sold will go to Goose Flights to benefit what Sammi and the family are doing to try to lift up people, which is just an amazing thing. And as I said, we only ran 5,000 cans for this first run. So I've had a lot of people that are like, dude, I got to get my hands on one of those cans. Don't waste time. Like, there might be more down the road. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But, like, don't wait around and say, well, in a month, like, go, like, this week, tonight. If you can't make it tonight, this week, to make sure you get your hands on a can of Goose Flights before it's gone. And on top of everything else, as you can confirm, the beer's good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
Real
it's a delicious beer on top of everything else that's wonderful about this. All right, remind everybody the socials.
Yes. Follow us on Instagram at Goose Flights. And you can DM us. We're really active on there. Whatever you need, you want to donate, or even if you have to, you want to refer someone about our services. We're here to help. Transportation, there's a big need for it. So if there's anybody you know or anybody in your community that could utilize our services, please let us know, because we want to dive into this Baltimore, Maryland location.
Sammi, I hope you know what an honor it is for me that this all came together and this all is happening. And your dad's a really important person and a really special person to a lot of people here. And I'm sure John Colson's been telling you all about his stories of working with your dad and doing the shows together. This is really, really special to me.
Thank you.
And I can't. I'm so glad that you guys were receptive and thought it was cool. And I get goosebumps thinking about how all this has come together. No pun intended. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Can't wait for this event tonight and to be working together more moving forward. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you. Thank you. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I appreciate all you do and all you've been in supporting Goose Flights.
That's Sammi Siragusa in studio with us this morning. Again, make sure you are with us tonight at Guilford Hall Brewery. When we come back in, we'll dive back into some Ravens conversation. Our buddy Jason Cole from the 33rd team will check in with us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Orioles manager Brandon Hyde as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and the Orioles as our Team of the Year, with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark sitting down with Hyde to discuss his role in creating the culture that defined the Orioles' magic season. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2023. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Ravens, Terps, and O's at PressBoxOnline.com.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Welcome back to GCR. Glenn is just returning to his chair, but I'll give him a second to get settled in and remind you about the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now at all your local Royal Farm store. It is the annual best of issue, and we're celebrating the Orioles as the team of the year, and manager Brandon Hyde as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year. And inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the last 12 months in local sports. Pick up the best of issue at your neighborhood ROFO or any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox, or the entire edition at PressBoxOnline.com.
I hope people get it. Like, this really is so cool to me. I because of what I do for a living now, I it's cool to connect with athletes, but I haven't been able to be like a fan the way that I was a fan when I was a kid. Tony Siragusa was like the first. We didn't have a team here when I was a child. There was no team. So, like, when they showed up, and I was still a kid, I was 13 when the Ravens arrived. Tony Siragusa was one of the first athletes that, like, I fell in love with when I was still able to just be a fan. Unbridled passion and joy and just rooting. And so to be able to do this, to try to help share his legacy and what he's trying to accomplish, it's a really neat thing for me on a personal level. Like, on a personal level, it's really special that this has worked out the way that it did. And this was all just sort of a crazy idea that John Colson and I sat down one day, and we were talking about, we've been doing shows with Guilford Hall for the last couple of years, and we've loved that, and we love them, and what a cool location they are, and their beer's great, their food's great. We love everything about Guilford Hall. And, like, John said, hey, they've been tossing around this idea of, like, us doing a beer. And from there, the way this has gone, like, to see something like this come to fruition is just genuinely special. Like, it's genuinely special for us. And if you guys are sick of hearing about it, I'm sorry, I don't care. It's special for me. So this is really, really cool. And they're special people. Appreciate Sammi coming in and hanging out with us. Okay, so I have been asking for your responses to this question. Like, are you rooting for the Steelers today? And it's been all over the place, like, the responses to this. I feel the way that a lot of people feel. Our buddy Paul Valley from the Bat Around said, I'm strictly wanting Pittsburgh to win just so that the Ravens can shut them and their fans up. It doesn't matter who comes to Baltimore. The Ravens are winning. That, for me, would just be the sweetest victory. And I feel what Paul is saying. Like, of all of the Chiefs thing, frankly, is over. The Ravens beat the Chiefs. They beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs a few years ago. There is no thing there any longer, because that thing was never really about the playoffs. It was regular season matchups. There's no, like, hey, every time the Ravens have played the Chiefs in the playoffs, the Chiefs have always. There isn't a Chiefs thing with the Ravens. I guess you could say there is with the Bills, but you'd be basing that off of one matchup. Like, you could say, hey, the Ravens, haven't won a playoff game over the Bills. They played one. Like, one. So that's not a thing. The only thing that's a thing is this weird anomaly. And again, I can only say it so many times. It's just an anomaly that Lamar Jackson hasn't played well in a win over the Steelers. And again, I have to put a double qualifier on it even to make it a thing, because it's not like Lamar Jackson, as I said before, hasn't beaten the Steelers or hasn't played well against the Steelers. He just hasn't played well in a win over the Steelers. And it's a weird anomaly, and it exists. And I have, and if you've got Steelers fans in your life, if you have friends that are Steelers fans, you have probably felt an amount of it. You've probably felt a layer of, like, there is a friend of mine who earlier this season, watching that game, was like, see, the Steelers have Lamar Jackson's number. And I just couldn't comprehend what they were. I'm like, dude, are you watching this football game? Like, what in the bloody F are you talking about? The Steelers have Lamar Jackson's number. So that thing, this, like, misguided hubris that Steelers fans feel about facing Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, you kind of like to see that go away. No, there might be other people that feel like an amount of nervous energy about that. Like, maybe I don't really want to mess with that. Like, maybe I'd rather worry about that in a regular season game next year. I don't feel that way at all. It's an anomaly, as I keep saying. There is no The Steelers don't have some unbelievable history against Lamar Jackson. That's not a thing. It's weird. It's an anomaly, as I keep using that phrase. Try to respond to some of these other ones. John Little Rock. I can't root for Pittsburgh, but I would rather play them over Houston. The Texans are really dangerous. From Andy. Andy said, sorry, I'm trying to pull this back up. I don't care if it is the best opponent and it potentially gives the Ravens an easier road to the AFC Championship. I will never root for a rival ever. Andy, I completely agree with you. TC said, I'm not necessarily rooting for the Steelers as much as I'm rooting for the Bills to be out. It makes it an easier path. I can feel some amount of sense about that. Brian checked in and said, the Steelers make the most sense, but as Barstool Banks points out, it's going to feel like 6 degrees. I'd maybe rather play the team from Texas. I hear you. Our guy Keith, I hate to admit it, but I'm pulling for the Steelers to upset the Bills, even though I don't see it happening. But Wild Card Weekend has been unpredictable. Just want to end the Steelers season at the bank next weekend. From Paul, when you don't feel your team is the best, you root for getting the lowest seed possible in each round. This Ravens team, though, just like the 2002 Maryland men's basketball team, that's a strange comparison, I don't think it matters. Line up the highest seed possible each round and knock them down. 2 home games, then Vegas.
Feel the same about this Maryland team.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was a nice win. Don't get me wrong. It was a miraculous win yesterday. Team can't make a 3 and yet somehow figured out a way to win on the road against a really good team. That is fascinating. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the playoff picture. Joining us now, it's been a too long since we have caught up with our next guest. I saw that he was working with the folks at the 33rd team. He is, of course, a longtime NFL writer, friend of the program. My buddy Jason Cole is back with us now here on GCR. Jay, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, brother. Thanks for taking the time for me this morning.
Anytime, dude. How are you?
I'm great, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm really good.
I
saw Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Oh, nice.
On December.
Nice.
Yeah, little venue in Menlo Park, California. It was like one of those places that's 500, 600 people. It was awesome.
All right, I'm gonna run this.
They were great.
I'm gonna run this by you because I think you're a good arbiter of these things. Believe it or not, I have never seen the Stones in my life. Right? Like it's just. I don't know how it's happened. I've never seen it.
Neither have I.
Really? Okay. So maybe.
And I don't have an overwhelming reason to see them. I don't know why.
So that's interesting to me because once they announced this tour this time, I said I can't. Like we're already down 1.
No.
We're going to be down a lot.
Yeah.
I spent over $600 per ticket on 2 tickets to see the Stones. Do you think I'm a crazy person?
No, I don't think you're a crazy person. Let me just say this. I once went and saw Dizzy Gillespie.
Okay.
So we're a little off brand here. Probably I don't know, was it 30-something years ago, right? And Dizzy couldn't play anymore.
Yeah.
He would get up and he would blow the horn for about 20 seconds and do a little mini solo. And he'd go sit down because he was just, he was done. He was tired. He was, life had beaten him, okay, at that point in time. But he was still playing once in a while. But I was happy that I went and saw Dizzy Gillespie because I saw a piece of history.
Yeah.
Right? And I have that picture in my mind. And I know I saw Dizzy Gillespie. And I feel like that's what you're doing right now.
Yep.
With Mick, you're seeing a piece of music history. Can he perform anymore? No, not really. Should I have seen him somewhere, on some other tour? Yeah, it just never happened, right? And but now, like my image of what Mick was from everything that I ever saw and every interview that I ever saw is not what that is. So I don't want to go. At my age, I don't want to go and see him.
I get that.
Now, but I think that anybody who wasn't of my age who didn't get a chance to see him probably should, if that makes sense.
I had this fear with McCartney a couple years ago when he played in Baltimore, and again, just randomly, I'd never seen McCartney, right? And he's 80 years old. I'm like, there's just no way. Like, I don't know what. And he actually sounded great. Like, he really sounded wonderful. And played. And I like looked at my wife at one point, and she looked at me. She's like, "You're crying." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I don't care. I am. I'm soft now. I'm a father."
I cried during the carpool karaoke scene where he's talking with who's James with
Corden,
James Corden.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Let It Be.
Yeah.
I cried. Like, that's just amazing.
Yep.
Right? That's just truly amazing. So yes, I totally understand.
They did a bit where they took the footage from what was the Let It Be the thing, the Peter Jackson thing, and they put John singing his verse of "I've Got a Feeling" on the screen, and then had Paul singing, and it was too much for me. Like, it was just so wonderful, and I was just so happy to be a part of it. I was like, I don't care. I would spend any amount of money to be able to feel what I'm feeling right now. So there you go. That's all. That's
a good reason.
That's all I needed from you, Jay. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
We're starting to feel some hubris in Baltimore. There's starting to be a feeling of, hey, we know what happened 4 years ago when the Ravens were the number 1 seed, but this team seems to be better than that team. There's just no glaring hole. There's no particular weakness. There's no fear like, hey, what if you fall behind early? Like, you say, yeah, you think this team can dig out of it. Okay, take me through why you think that might be misplaced.
That part is where that's part of where I worry. If they're down 2 scores, if they're down 10 points in the second quarter, and you have to ask Lamar to make a lot of tough throws, then it's okay. Show me that you can do it. I think Lamar is a better quarterback today than he was in his MVP year. I think he's more accurate, which doesn't usually change. Okay, I think he's a better decision maker. I think that he runs to throw, not runs to run. All these things are incredible improvements. But the one part that I haven't seen yet, and I'm not saying that I've seen him do it poorly this season. I haven't seen it. I have not seen the circumstances come up that much. Is for him to have to make a game where he has to make 5 or 6 throws in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, right? Where you're behind or you've got to have it plays. And and I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying that he can do it. I want to see it because in the past he hasn't been able to do it. But I also go along with he's a better player today than he was in his MVP season. And this is an MVP year. He's going to win the MVP this year and deserve it, right? But he's better now than that year where he had the crazy stats and all the rushing yards. And it's just this is a version of a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. And if the defense is right and keeps you out of bad situations. But when you say they can, I feel okay if they're behind by 2 scores. Prove it to me.
I understand.
I haven't seen it.
I get it, Jason. And look, it's hilarious that I would bring this up because they ultimately won the game 56-19. But I thought the Dolphins game actually did something to answer something because they fell behind twice in the first half. And, it felt in those moments, because, again, we didn't know how that was going to end up playing out. Who could have possibly seen that they were going to boat race the Dolphins in the second half of that game? But, I thought that we saw that in the second quarter, hey, this time it's going to be on me. This one's not going to be on the defense. This one's going to be totally and completely on me. And, that 4th and 7 throw for the touchdown to Isaiah Likely was bonkers, was just absolutely nuts. And there were so many throws that I saw that day that I said, again, we talk about how different he was. That was the day that made me say, okay, I might be comfortable in almost any circumstance you put this kid in at this point.
Well, I'm comfortable in any circumstance. I just want to see it play out, right? Yeah. And I don't think the Dolphins are a great measure because I just don't think the Dolphins, especially defensively after the injuries in that game, they had no real chance, right? That game got out of hand. And it was never really out of hand in the first half. They were always within a score, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's when things get to 2 scores is when you start to wonder about people, right? And so I just, again, I want to see it. They are the best team in the AFC. They're the most complete team. They've had the best season by far. They have the MVP. They boat raced San Francisco in Santa Clara. And now, how many games are you going to win the turnover battle 5-0?
Right.
And you get 3 tipped passes. One tip, they tip the ball, and the other one they hit the arm. Okay, how many times does that happen against a quality team like San Francisco? Not very many. So they got the one out of those teams who replaced 7. They got the one where they boat race them, but I think the other 6 games are all a hell of a lot closer, right? So, I sit here and I wonder, and that's the one where I go, I don't know that there's a team that clearly is better than them. There is not. Okay, certainly not in the AFC, but there are teams that can take them to task. Miami was not one of them. And Kansas City is one of them. Buffalo, if they survive, is one of them. Pittsburgh, even though they beat them earlier this year, is not. They're just not good enough offensively, and that would be a rollover. But I do think that Buffalo and Kansas City can give them a game. And if Kansas City would just catch the ball, right?
Yeah.
This is the reason that Kansas City is not that good this year is not a real complicated, deep, thoughtful answer. It's just catch the freaking ball, and you'd be a whole lot better this year, right? That's where I am on Baltimore. But yeah, feel good about where you are. This is awesome, and you've got a great defense and a great quarterback.
Jason Cole with us here on GCR, now with the 33rd team. It's funny you bring that up, Jason, because for so many years, it was one of the things that we talked about in Baltimore, right? Why is there no priority being placed on the wide receiver position? And it's not even like the Ravens went crazy this year, but they prioritized wide receiver. They signed a couple of veterans and drafted a receiver in the first round, and look at how it's turned out for them. It just seems it sounds like such a dumb guy thing to say, but for so many times we talked about, hey, once you sign your quarterback, he's got to make the receivers around him better. Well, Patrick Mahomes might be the greatest quarterback of all time, and he can't make Kadarius Toney a thing. It can't be done. It's just impossible if you don't have that player. The priority has to be on, you've got to put guys around these guys that can play that position in order to make it work.
Right. Well, last year they had Juju Smith-Schuster, right?
Right.
And he caught 80 balls for 1,100 yards. Didn't do anything great, but he caught the ball.
Correct. Again.
Just catch the ball, right? Yes. And the guys that they have this year don't. So Baltimore has guys who catch the ball.
Yes.
So, it's not a complicated thing, but catch the ball. And Zay Flowers had a really nice season. Odell's done his part. Is he great? No, but he's done his part. Andrews, when he's healthy, is Andrews. They've gotten a hell of a lot out of Likely.
Yeah.
Likely's been, he's been
game changer,
amazing.
Yep.
Right, and all the other guys, whether it's Bateman, whether it's Aguilar, all those guys, just catch the ball.
Yep. Not hard.
You don't have to. You don't. Well, it's
it
harder
shouldn't
than
be.
you think.
Yeah,
but,
fair. All right.
But it's the most essential thing of the job. I don't, all the yards after catch stuff that people talk about. Yeah, it's after the catch. Do the catch, right? Just do that part of it. Get me that, and I'll live with whatever else you do. All right. But because catching the ball makes the quarterback feel so much more confident, right? If I throw the ball to somebody and they just catch it, right? I feel like, okay, I can do whatever I need to do. I'm firing it out there. That's I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. He's doing what I don't have to worry about. When guys don't catch the ball, then you're like, should I even throw it to him?
Yep.
Should I? And then should I? This and that. It gets in your head as a quarterback. Lamar doesn't have to worry about this year. He's got guys who catch the ball. It's a really simple thing.
What a concept. What a world we're in. What a concept. A ton of heat. First of all, what's your gut tell you about Mike McDonald and Todd Monken as far as whether either of those guys are going to be head coaches next season?
There's enough jobs that it could happen. I think that Monken's going to take another year. Here's the thing with Monken that hurts him. How many teams are going to do what Baltimore does? Does that make sense? How many teams want to play that system? And there aren't a lot. And I've always said this. I've said it to John Harbaugh a couple of times. Texting him. I said that the most important thing that they did after they got Lamar is they pushed all in on we're doing whatever it takes to make this work. and that was, you had Roman who was good at first, and then when Roman sort of ran his course, let's go get Monken and do some other improvements, right? But it has always been about make the quarterback better. When you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who's a runner first early in his career, and then has to transition. Okay, you have to run a very specialized kind of offense, and then hope that he can make that transition. There are some guys who can't. They're just They're runners from the beginning, and they're runners to the end. I was worried about whether Lamar would be one of those guys. He has made the transition to become a passer, which is why he's worth his weight in gold and makes you a contender every year. Whether that's going to be a Super Bowl contender every year, this year's going to be a big answer to that question, and we'll see how it plays out in the playoffs.
What do you make of all of the Bill Belichick, the Dallas bluster? Like, I get the idea that he wants to coach somewhere, but why would he go somewhere where he doesn't have control?
I tweeted this out yesterday. I said, it sounds really neat, but the first time that Jerry Jones had given a press conference in the locker room after a game, like, Bill's just going to be like, he's going to grind his teeth down to his gums. He just can't stand it. Or the times that he has to answer questions about Jerry's radio show. Right? Like,
imagine.
Could you imagine? Right, because it's just the Cowboys do not exist. The Cowboys do not exist really to compete for championships primarily. They talk about that. Like, they say that that's what they want to do. But they really exist as a pulpit for Jerry Jones to be Jerry Jones. Right? And they exist for Jerry to become rich, which he's done, to pretend that he's a football guy, which, he was once upon a time. He was a player at Arkansas, and flirted with the idea of becoming a coach until he said, and in these words to me directly, I looked at the amount of money those guys made and said, no way. And then, they exist, they just exist for Jerry, to be Jerry, for him to pretend. And that doesn't work for Belichick. And I'm not sure that, I'm not even sure that Dak Prescott is the right guy for Bill Belichick. I don't think Dak could handle Bill. You have to be, Bill will wear out your quarterback. He wore out Mac Jones. The marriage between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady was a perfect one because he got a pliable quarterback who was so desperate to prove himself and was so talented, but had been beaten down by not being recruited in high school and then having to deal with, Brian Greasy starting ahead of him, and Drew Henson coming in when he was a junior. It was, all of that stuff beat Tom Brady down to the point where he would listen and follow orders for anybody for so long in his career. And then at the end of his career, he wouldn't do it anymore. He'd established himself, and that's when they split. Now, that was a bad move by Belichick, but a meeting of the perfect coach and the perfect player in the perfect mental state.
So where does, again, presuming if Jim Harbaugh
they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. The Cowboys are just keeping McCarthy.
Wow, that's fascinating.
They're just going to keep him because, Jerry will wring his hands and make it sound dramatic and this and that, but he wants a pliable guy who lets him do it his way. He just does. And McCarthy lets him do it his way. He kept Jason Garrett for how long? And Jason Garrett achieved even less than McCarthy, right? But he's going to keep. I mean, this is me betting. If I'm a betting man, based on history, the two great coaches who Jerry hired along the way, the two best coaches you've ever hired, he ran them both off. Jimmy Johnson, over-the-top character, and Bill Parcells, over-the-top character, who helped deliver a stadium vote for him, created a really good team, but wouldn't let Jerry be Jerry. Well, Jerry wants to be Jerry. He's got that with McCarthy. And he also has McCarthy as a whipping boy when things go wrong.
what about Belichick? Where would he make sense?
He makes sense in Atlanta. Somebody to just, take over the organization. I think that there would be some people upstairs in there, like Rich McKay, might be scared about having Belichick around. But I think Arthur Blank wants to win so badly. And he went with sort of the hot, low-key name the last time with Arthur Smith, the guy kind of, who'd worked his way up and, been an assistant and looked like, he could be that next guy. The opposite of that is Belichick. And usually when you fire a guy, you're looking for the opposite of what that is.
Sure.
Right. And Blank has the money to write whatever check Belichick wants. So that makes sense. To me, if I was the Chargers, I would be having a little competition between Harbaugh and Belichick to see which one wanted the job a little bit more, who had the better plan, because that's a ready-made quarterback situation.
Yep.
And it's a ready-made quarterback situation. And by the way, you better look across the field because you got Sean Payton and Andy Reid in the same division.
Yeah.
You better step up and have and the Raiders
coach,
need to think. Yeah, the Raiders need to think about that too. Antonio Pierce sounds like a really cool story, but do you really want to play crosswits between him and Andy Reid? Like with that kind of experience, like you got 30 years of head coaching experience against a guy who's been doing it for about 5 minutes. Like it's not a reflection that Antonio Pierce is not smart enough to do the job. He doesn't have the experience to do the job. And so, when it really gets tough, now that's why I say, if you're in that division and you want to win that division, you better come in with a quality coach. The Chargers tried it with Brandon Staley. They had Sean Payton begging for the job a year ago. They stuck with Brandon Staley, and they ended up with a guy who didn't understand how to run a team. And now they should go out and get a guy who understands how to run a team. And it's either Harbaugh or Belichick, and I would be talking to both of them.
What else can I plug for you, man?
33rd team. I wrote a book that came out in the fall called "Shut Up, Your Kid's Not That Great," which includes a foreword by Tom Brady Sr. And it's just an advice book for parents out there who are trying to make their kids into superstars, whether they're in athletics or entertainment or whatever it happens to be. A little bit of, harrowing stories and advice about parents who are a little bit too far over the top in how they handle their kids. And I always look at Tom Brady Sr. and how he handled his son, such as, the advice he gave him to stay at Michigan, even when things got hard, even when they brought in, even when they had Brian Gracie's start ahead of him, that one year, even when they brought in Drew Henson. And Tom was like, I think I want to come home and go to Cal. And Tom Sr. said, well, you can do that if you want, but my advice to you is I would stick it out. And he stuck it out, and there's a reason that kid became great and became the greatest winner of all time. And I think a lot of it has to do with the decision to stay at Michigan.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Again, Shut Up. We'll link it up on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio.
Please.
For people to check it out. Shut Up, Your Kid Is Not That Great, available now. Jay, always
on Amazon. Fun.
Always appreciate you, brother. Let's do this again real soon. All right.
Absolutely, dude. Be good.
Thanks. Jason Cole with us here on GCR. Once Upon a Time was a weekly with us. We love Jason and appreciate his thoughts. I know he got everybody riled up. I can both disagree without, the minutia of the fact. Like, I had a couple people who were like, oh, yeah, well, what about the Rams game? Well, the Ravens weren't down by multiple scores in the Rams game either. What if Lamar Jackson has to make 3 to 5 really big throws on third down? My answer is I have complete confidence. Based on what we saw him do during the course of the season, I have utter and complete confidence that if that's the way things were to play out, that he is plenty capable of handling that. The factually speaking side of it is that hasn't been the situation the Ravens have been in. And he's not wrong. The Ravens have not been down multiple scores with any amount of regularity. So I get his point. Now, the first thing I would say is there's no reason why the Ravens have to be down by multiple scores. Then the second part is the uniqueness of it just being 2 scores, to me, doesn't suddenly make me feel wildly different about the way that Lamar has played and how he's handled circumstances. I have utter and complete confidence in this version of Lamar Jackson and this version of the Ravens, even if they were to find themselves in that situation. Now, do I have confidence that if they fell behind 27-0 the way the Cowboys did, that they would definitely be? No, let's not go crazy. But I have confidence, and I think everybody has the right to be confident. But factually speaking, Jason's right. That's not the circumstance they have regularly been in. And so, his point is heard. Today's show is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Still to come, we're going to check in with our buddy Jeremy Conn. It's been like a month since I've chatted with Jeremy Conn. This wasn't here, and then we had holidays, and it was just a whole thing. It's been an eternity since I've had a conversation with Jeremy Conn. I think the last time I saw Jeremy Conn, we were belting out Tenacious D lyrics together, which was a lot of fun. So we will get into that as we continue along on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Conn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make sure you tuned in every Tuesday for Pressbox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Conn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR. So, by the way, Stan the Fan is back. I saw he was here last week. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Stan had a bout with COVID that wasn't so great, but was back, and he's going to be back in action later on today. He, Ross, and Luke will get together to talk some baseball. 3:30 as they will get together at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. I was just chatting about this with John Proctor. So I said earlier, I did not know what the weather was supposed to be like in Kansas City, and as I admitted to John in Little Rock before the game started on Saturday, if I had known, I wouldn't have picked the Dolphins. I'm sitting at 3-1. John and I are going to be tied at the top of the table no matter what happens because we pick the next two games the same way. So we're going to go into the divisional round tied atop the table.
I clinched.
You clinched what?
The worst spot.
Yeah, correct. You clinched the Vice, the Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
Griffin is officially on his way to say Creed next summer, which is very exciting. Very exciting. 9 games left.
What's the cheapest?
He's
you
10
think
games
maybe we
back.
can get a deal, maybe, or
What, a deal? You want to do some trade?
Yeah, I don't know.
You think you can get out of having to pay for a Creed ticket?
Yeah.
You lost.
Thinking.
You lost, dog. You lost. I didn't lose. You lost.
So it's a financial punishment more than.
Well, I think it's a punishment for your ears.
How many?
I'm pretty sure it's mental torture that you're going to go through. I'm pretty sure it's a punishment on many levels. But I didn't lose. You lost. So let's just keep that in mind. Griffin will be headed to see Creed. For what it's worth, you don't have to come in here and do the other stuff.
Yeah,
you have to take the Irish dance
Thank
lesson.
God.
Jeremy's got to do all that. Yeah, the only thing that's left to be determined is the top of the table. So I get on this boat last week, and I say, I'll go ahead and get myself some internet so I can stay plugged in. And like at night, I'll check in on what's going on in the world. You don't have a lot of downtime when you're on these boats. And no, not a lot. And they say, good news, you can get yourself some internet if you'd like. We got some internet on ye old boat. You can have some. For $28 a day. So I say to myself, well, that's not great. I'll probably not choose to pay $28 a day. Like, maybe I'll limit the number of days that I choose to have the internet, right? And I'll be in the zone with my family. We'll spend some time together. It'll be lovely. I wanted to blow my brains out.
There wasn't like any areas where like you did get signal.
No. You're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. They don't have
I don't know how it works.
signal. Now, when you get into port, you can maybe get like Wi-Fi. So, for example, we only had 2 ports. So one was in the Caymans, and there was a little bar in the Caymans that had some Wi-Fi. So for like a minute, that was working, and I was getting some Wi-Fi. But we had plans in the Caymans. We were going on a glass-bottom boat to go explore the ocean. It was neat. It was neat. It was very nice.
Cool.
It was very nice. So I got like 5 minutes of internet. So I planned it out perfectly. I said, here's what I'm going to do. My flight home is 4:40 on Friday. So I got to check into my flight at 4:40 on Thursday. So if I time this out perfectly and I sign up for 24 hours of internet on Wednesday at about 5:15, then I will be able to make my picks, get my picks in. There was an email I needed to send based on my Stevenson job. And then I would also, in addition to that, be able to check into my flight the next day. So if I got to pay $28 for 24 hours of internet, those are the 24 hours. So here I am, Glenn Clark, 5:15 on Wednesday, hitting the button. I'm getting me some internet. That didn't work. That was slow AF. The email that I sent with my picks took me like 50 minutes just to be able to craft and send an email. So I had no ability to look at like an injury report or anything like that. Now, again, so far, 3-1, no big deal. Like, all's good. I'm going to be tied for first place no matter what at the end of the weekend. So it's not the end of the world. Everything about this boat, lovely. It's a lovely boat. A lot of boat things. Spider-Man came and picked up my kid from the kids club on Friday. What else could you ask for in the world? Lovely boat. Could not have had a lovelier time. The internet thing is a debacle. It's 2024. I don't care that we're in the middle of the ocean. Somebody's got to. I was able to watch the national championship game. Why can't I have some damn internet? Charge me $28. Should be able to work. God bless you, Disney. My kids love you. You're going to get all my money, I assure you. You're going to get plenty. You've already gotten thousands upon dollars. I'm sure you will get more money from me in the future. But maybe if you're going to charge me $28 for internet, the internet works. Just a thought. Or say, hey, it's $5 and it doesn't work. And then I'll say, I'll deal with that. That's the way it goes. Jeremy Conn is with us once again. It's been way too long. Just the way that it worked out. I was away. We had some holidays. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, it is another holiday, so I'm happy to be back with you guys. I got a little bit of a cold.
Yeah, you don't sound so good.
Fun times.
Yeah, you don't sound. This isn't the other thing, is it?
No, it's not the other. Well, I hope not.
All right,
we'll find out. But
and by that, of course,
no,
I mean
lost
cancer.
That's
what I was referring to.
No. I lost my voice in the middle of the week, and as soon as I start to get it back, I get a cold, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Okay, so I the week before I left, I had dealt with the exact same situation, but for me, it was a combination of having the kids home for the entirety of winter break, and every 5 minutes when my kids are home and I'm with them, having to say something like, "Boys!" Like they don't listen if I'm not yelling. Like I can't. If you just say, "Hey, it's time to go," there is no response to that. It's like they didn't even hear it. They only hear it if I yell it. So I had to spend 10 or 12 days, whatever it was, they were home, just yelling the entire time. And at some point, I realized, like, oh my God, I don't have a voice anymore because all I've been doing is yelling for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than losing your voice. And then even now, like, the mornings are rough when you're waking up and you're trying to get all cleaned up, get ready to go, and try to clear out your sinuses, and it's like damn near impossible. But whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
It's all good. We had some NFL football yesterday.
We did.
Playoffs, and the Ravens will probably find out who they're playing this weekend.
Yeah, I have a question for you though, as someone with a couple of kids. At what age are you able to go on vacation again and actually enjoy yourself? Like what age do my boys have to reach before I'll be able to? Like Leah here at the office asked me, how was your vacation? And I was like, very stressful, extraordinarily stressful. It is not, I don't get to have a vacation because, again, it's more of this. It's more of screaming at my kids for 7 days. What age do they get to when I might be able to enjoy one again?
Well, it's different for everyone because my two boys couldn't be any different. And like when we went to a really nice Mexican resort, upscale, the food was fantastic. My younger son Dalton was just as picky as could be, wearing a hoodie out on the beach in 100-degree weather. He actually had a separate hoodie he would take off and go into the water with, which we talked about before. Just a hoodie that he wears in the water. And I'm just talking about the hood, the actual hood, like nothing else. So I don't know, like he's built differently. So like planning vacations, he likes Ocean City, but it's a matter of finding the things that both kids like, and do they want to be independent? Do they want to do family stuff? You're in that nice wheelhouse where your kids are still going to enjoy like all the fun things you go to do, and there's all this new and exciting stuff. Once they start to develop their likes and things that they know they're going to be passionate about, then it's trying to piece that together. And then for me, it's more or less going on trips with one kid or the other and doing things with each of them because they are so different. So maybe never, Glenn.
Oh, great! I have that to look forward to. I remember when I stopped drinking, I said it was, and there was a lot of reasons why I stopped drinking, like there's a million of them. But one of the things I brought up is like I don't want to be drunk when I find out that like my kid, there's a problem. Like I want to be able to be in control of all circumstances. And the joke that I made was maybe I'll drink again once my kids can start warming up their own Hot Pockets, right? Like once they have enough individuality that they are capable of sustaining and surviving if I were to be incapacitated, then like maybe I could find myself doing that. And I've sort of had that feeling like at some age a trip like this would be cool again because they just wouldn't want to be around me. They'd be like, dude, I'm going to go do my own thing. You do your thing. We'll be all right. Like I keep thinking like that's the moment that I'll be saddened by it at first because like you will. Like I have no doubt that like you're a little bit sad the first time your kid's like, yeah, dude, I don't really want you around. But at the same time, it will actually allow me to have time where I could go enjoy something again instead of spending 24/7 thinking about them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, like the different things, too, are like amusement parks. And there's still always the stuff that everybody kind of likes.
Yeah.
We never did the Disney thing. I know you you just got back from, was that a cruise?
Yeah, it was a Disney cruise.
See, yeah. I was hoping that if I could find out where you guys were going to be in the Caymans, maybe I could come swim under your glass bottom boat in the nude.
Yeah, you would.
Tasteful
yeah,
stuff.
tasteful. Yeah, 100%. That would be. Hey, look, kids. Hey, look.
Yeah. Hey, there's that guy that you dunked in the water tank one day. Yeah. No,
why,
but
why does his look like that, Daddy? I don't know. It's still it counts though. It's still there.
Bubblegum.
Yeah.
Hey, No, I was going to ask you, like, are your kids big? Like, do you know yet if they're going to be big sports fans?
So my older son, 100%. This is the part that sucks for me. My older son is clearly going down my path, right? Like he's clear as an actual athlete, he's just indifferent, and that's the way that I was. Like I enjoyed doing it, but like I would almost laugh at the kids that were trying so hard. And it wasn't just that way with sports. Like it was like with everything. Like if somebody was really trying hard during band, they'd be like, "Ha, what a loser! You're trying." You know, like that was sort of the way that I was. And
pathetic.
Yeah, right? Like what an idiot trying to have a skill. Oh, dummy. That was the way that I was. And I sense that with my 8-year-old. I see him like he loves watching football and like he wants to talk to me about football and like he's all in on that. I'm like, "Oh god, he's going to follow my stupid path." Like that I'm like trying my best to be like, "Kid, try." Like I went to his basketball practice on Sunday and I'm like, please, just please, a little bit more effort. I'm going to turn into that dad. Like I'm screaming at him from the sideline like, "Box out, you idiots." Like I'm doing that bit because I can just see it in him. He's sort of like, I don't care. Whatever. I'm here with my friends. That's all I care about.
You'd be like Will Ferrell with the "Get Off the Shed" bit on SNL. Right, Get off the shed.
Get off the shed. Dude, it's so difficult because I'm just watching him. Like you don't want to talk about sports for the rest of your life. Like you don't want to do this. You're gonna lose 1,000 jobs. You're gonna be stop. Do something
you feel
else.
Like Billy Madison telling the kids to go back to school, right? Like
please,
go back
to
to
school. My 6-year-old is like a chef. My 6-year-old is someone who wants to have talents. Like he cooks food. He prepares meals. He's 6.
Wow.
He like we just got him a drum set. He's got a piano. He's taking music lessons. Like he's my tortured artist though. Like he's the type of person that like when one thing doesn't go his way, he'll like shut down for an hour and like not want to deal with you. He's my tortured artist, my 6-year-old. So he's like he goes along with it. When the 8-year-old and I want to watch a football game, he'll sit with us, but he has no actual interest in it. Like he just wants to be a part of what we're doing so he's not left out. But he does not give a rat's ass about any of it. Does not remotely care. He is like, and by the way, I think he'll actually prove to be the better athlete of the two because when he plays soccer, he's more invested in it. Like if he's going to do something, he wants to do it. So that's a long answer to a silly question, but like it's driving me nuts.
No, but I mean it matters though. It does in the grand scheme of things. Of like the same thing you're talking about. My older son kind of followed in my footsteps, and he's a mirror image of me. And where my younger son is a black sheep, and he's also a mirror image of me because I was the black sheep of my family. So, but it's weird. It's like sometimes they don't mesh well together. Sometimes I wonder if my kids even like each other. So it's just funny how it goes, man.
It's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. All right. As you mentioned, we got some football games this weekend. Jeremy Conn with us, of course, ConcreteLocks.com, Big Bad Morning Show 105.7 The Fan. By the way, apologies. I'm pretty sure Drew and I chased all of your audience away today. I don't think there's anybody left. So I said this at the beginning of the show. Nothing in particularly. Is it crazy that it happened again with Dallas? It's hilarious that it happened again with Dallas, right? Like that's wild. But I don't think that I come out of at least these first 4 games feeling dramatically different about any of the winners' chances of winning the Super Bowl. Like I don't. Maybe I have more of a belief that Kansas City could still figure out a way to do this. As Chris Rose said so eloquently on the NFL Network, maybe they can ride the D. I don't. That's the strongest take. Like I don't come away from it like the Packers were impressive, but do I really believe they can go to San Francisco and beat the 49ers? No, I don't. The Lions were great, but do I really think that they can go beat the 49ers? Honestly, I don't. I don't know. I didn't come away from it feeling dramatically different about I think the Texans have looked good most of the time as C.J. Stroud's played, but I don't fear the Texans if they arrive in Baltimore next Saturday. I just don't feel strongly necessarily about any of these teams other than maybe it was more fortification that the Chiefs could still figure out a way to be to get this done, even though we know their offense isn't quite as good.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm as sold on the Chiefs because, I mean, the Dolphins just looked like trash. They had one drive in that whole game, really. And I don't even know if you want to call it a drive. It was like 3 plays.
Right.
And then, look, the Chiefs' defense played well. The conditions really helped out. I would say this. So, like, if the Ravens play the Texans, which is the most likely outcome, they would be 8.5-point favorites over Houston. I think inherently as fans of a team, that you always end up probably worried a little bit more about the team you're going to face than all the other ones. And C.J. Stroud did look pretty good against a Browns defense, which I talked about all week. They were totally different on the road.
Yep.
So, and I gave credit last night to Sean McVay for going. I guess it's more of a Spagnuolo thing, but going to the 5-man front, that really changed up. The Lions were just moving up and down the field on them, and so they went to the 5-man front. They could no longer, double Aaron Donald the way they wanted to, because now each lineman had someone they had to block, or you keep a back in, whatever. And it changed up what the Lions were doing, gave them an opportunity, it just wasn't good enough. So I don't know that I came away ultimately impressed by anyone except maybe the Packers, just because. But again, that could be, the Cowboys letting down, comedy of errors, maybe starting the game off right, the confidence building. But now they're 10-point dogs headed into San Francisco. So I still think that when all is said and done, we probably get the top-tier teams playing each other, the ones and twos. But we shall see.
What do you make of the argument that I've heard from some Ravens fans today? Because I assume that every Ravens fan was going to say, well, I hope it's the Steelers, right? Like, I'd rather play the Steelers. And I've heard this argument back from a few people that is the Texans coming and having to play in the cold, because it's supposed to be miserable in Baltimore next weekend. Like, it's supposed to be, like 20 degrees, feels like 2 type of cold next weekend.
Nice. That
the Texans coming to have to play in those conditions, they're actually the more desirable opponent, because if it were to be the Steelers, you'd be talking about a Steelers team now that would have gone to Buffalo and beaten the Bills in the frigid cold and would be completely comfortable playing in those circumstances.
Well, I guess we would have to – it's the familiarity with the Steelers. I don't think that team's any good, and I think the Ravens should beat any one of these teams that come here. But, like, you do have the other stuff that will be brought up this week. Lamar struggles in the postseason, which I don't buy into that. I think it's just BS. I think when we talk about this at the end of his career, it's going to be totally different. But, right, so we talk about that. Then we talk about the histories the Steelers have had recently against the Ravens and beating them a bunch of times. Was it 7 out of the last 8? So then that narrative starts to boil a little bit. But make no mistake about it, the Ravens are so much better than this Steelers team. But, in a weather game and familiarity, I think it can change everything. I think it's all talk for nothing, because I do think Buffalo wins today. And, even in bad conditions, they kind of get that field. I don't know if you've been watching the videos of it. You can actually see the numbers on the turf now, so that's good.
But got that going for them, which is nice.
Yeah, but I don't know where anybody's sitting. There's still snow in every damn seat, so it's crazy, man. But yeah, like when you're talking the Ravens, I do think the Texans thing is interesting. You faced them the first week of the season. I think we came away impressed with them, or maybe we weren't as impressed with the Ravens, and we should have been a little bit more impressed with what the Texans were doing. But I think they're a dangerous team, but the Ravens should beat whoever comes to town.
I think you're right about that. It might be venturing into hubris, but I'm feeling the same thing that a lot of people are feeling, which is the Ravens are definitively the best team. And again, this is football. You know this more than anybody as a gambler. Like, God knows there might be wild things that could happen, but they're just better. Like, they're a more complete, better football team with a better quarterback than anybody except for one team. I don't know. It's dangerous to have this much confidence in this team, but I really do have an extraordinary amount of confidence in this football team right now.
Yeah, and I think you should. I mean, they're good in all aspects of the game, offense, defense, and then even special teams. I feel like you trust those guys a ton. You're coming in relatively healthy as you could be, all things considered. So, yeah, I mean, look, this is one of those spots where you could let the air out of the stadium. I was worried about Detroit yesterday if Stafford had went right down the field and scored, but, Lions start off the ball, they come away with points. The rest is kind of history. But, yeah, I mean, it's been kind of anticlimactic for me, because I'm not really as concerned about who comes to town. I'd be more concerned over next week if it's or the week after if you end up facing – one of these other top-tier teams, if it's the Bills or the Chiefs or whoever comes out of that matchup.
I get that. I completely get it. All right. So what else is going on in your world?
I mean, look, it's MLK Day. A lot of NBA today, some college hoops. I'll be at the Green Turtle in Towson watching the game. So watching the 4 o'clock game, the Pittsburgh and Buffalo game. So I'll be up there. Kind of a nice little surprise, even though I would have liked to have had the 3 games yesterday
to
kind of get through the day.
We had this conversation earlier. Did they stumble into something here? Like, do we want this moving forward with 2 games each day?
Yeah, they might. I don't know. I thought a lot of that made sense with when they were going to do this. I thought the the 3-3 made more sense than putting a Monday night game, but they clearly want the money. I mean, you can look at it from the Peacock side of things. I thought there were a lot of people that said, who was it that took the NFL to task? Charles Barkley just said they're greedy bastards. You're going to make me pay you to go watch Peacock, and then you're going to make me pay you to watch commercials. So, like, it's just, I don't know. It feels weird.
I gotta be that guy. I gotta be that guy. These are lazy takes. These are lazy, dumb. You pay for NBC in your cable package. Like, this is, when people say this, well, yeah, but it's supposed to be over-the-air TV. You have to pay for the over-the-air channels when you subscribe to cable, unless you are the.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's pennies on the dollar compared to it. You are paying for it. You're not paying $20-some or $15 for one subscription. And the other thing is, you can change the channel while you're on there and go to another channel.
That is
Peacock.
That is true.
Yeah.
But hang on a second.
Yeah.
So I did this math.
Rebuttal to the rebuttal.
Oh, yeah. Do you know how much you're paying in your cable bill? How much of your cable bill goes for the over-the-air channels, the 4 networks?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
It's $32. So that smells to me like it's $8 per network. A Peacock subscription costs you $6. So I'm not. Look, I can't. There are more complicated layers to this question. This is a fascinating topic that was being dumbed down over the weekend, and what I came away with, it was a lot of people that sounded like, I don't want to give up my VHS tapes to get DVDs. Like, the part that bothered me about this is, like, they have tried telling you for some time, cable television is dead. Like, if you still want to cling to it, cling to it. The Baltimore Orioles have clung to it, right? Like, cable television is going to die. They are going to get rid of it. If you were still collecting, CDs in 2012, you probably feel very silly because CDs were dead. They were gone. If you're still clinging to cable television, then you're making a mistake because they've said to you very loudly, cable television is going to die. The funny part being, we've all complained about cable television, right? We've all said the same dumb thing. Yeah. Why am I paying for all these channels that I don't watch? Well, they're telling you, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just pay for what you want over the top with these apps, get the apps that you want, and now we're saying, well, wait a second, I don't want that either. And, like, this is where all of these arguments, and like Charles Barkley, who I like, trust me, I love Charles Barkley, but just came off like a guy repeating groupthink over the weekend. Like, you're not, they don't want you to have both NBC and Peacock. They don't want you to pay more. They want you to dump NBC and just get Peacock. They're out on cable. They don't want you to pay for DirecTV anymore. They want you to just get rid of it and sign up for Peacock. And whether you want to do that or not, that's your call. I can't tell you that ultimately, because then the thing everybody says, well, one day they're going to put the Super Bowl on pay-per-view. Well, no, the networks, it's more valuable to them because then they can plug that stupid TED show that nobody wants to watch. They can only hope to, it's always.
I watched it.
Did you really watch the TED show?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Damn it.
There's some laughs in there.
You just ruined it for me. It looked so painfully unfunny. Like,
I'm paying for Peacock. I'm watching their programming.
I watched that. I watched the Fresh Prince spinoff that they did a couple years ago, and I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I didn't hate it.
Oh,
man.
really? Rob really liked it.
I really didn't hate it. It's not. I don't think it's captivating. I think it's agreeable. I think it's like, I could watch this. I'm not in love with it. I'm not enamored with it, but it was watchable. The point being.
By the way, going back to the Peacock thing real quick, and my biggest gripe on watching games on these apps is that I just can't, channel hop the way I want to.
That part, I hear you. Like, that part, no doubt. You can't just click a button and go back to whatever it is that you were watching before. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And
so I never watch commercials, like hardly ever. And then if I'm on Peacock and the game's on, like, how many commercials did I watch just leaving the game on because I didn't want to leave it, come back into the app, or, trying to find it if there's something else I could go back and forth on the app with. But anybody that's had it knows it's not just as convenient as cable is. Clicking the last button and going back to it. You're going out.
There's also like the issues that One, the Fox Sports app sucked yesterday. Like, it was terrible. It was like every 3 or 4 minutes there was a little hiccup where like it was pausing, and it wasn't anything that ruined the experience. Like, you would in between plays there would be like a 2-second freeze and then it would be right back. Like, the Fox Sports app sucked yesterday, and there's still the problem with some apps where like they're so far behind live action that you're seeing what happened on Twitter before you actually see it. And that stinks. Like, I can't that they got to figure that out. Like, they got to work on the latency. It can't be that Twitter tells me that somebody just scored a touchdown before I see it on my television. That's no good whatsoever. And the Masson app was dreadful for that all baseball season. Like, the number of times I had to get off Twitter during a game because I was going to see somebody hit a home run before I actually saw the home run was awful.
Yeah.
So there's still things that have to be improved. But this is sheer greed thing that people were doing over the weekend, that's not actually true. Like, that was a lazy take.
See, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but like, my whole thing with this too, it's always about money with them. It's always going to be about money with the NFL. That's why we're playing games overseas. That's why we're playing games on all these different weeknights. That's why we have a Monday night football playoff game. That's why we have Thursday night football. It's all about money. And look, that's what businesses are about. But at some point, we really do have to question, are they making the sport worse over the long haul? Are they watering it down? And does this become an issue down the line? Right now, we can sit here and complain about all the things we want. Everybody's still watching, so it doesn't really matter.
24 million people streamed the game on Peacock on Saturday. I would say this. The thing that nobody ever talks about, like, it's utterly insane that the NFL is hidden behind, and again, I would think they would stand to make a lot more money. They continue to try to force the Sunday ticket thing, which is nonsensical for anyone that lives in their own team's home market. There is no justification. If you root for the Baltimore Ravens and live in Baltimore, there is no way to justify paying the full price for the Sunday ticket because you're just going to watch the games on television with your team, so you're only at most going to use the product half of the time. So you have to pay full price for a product that you're going to use half of the time. If you live outside your team's market, it makes total sense, right? Like, you'll watch Sunday ticket constantly. If you don't live outside your team's market, it's a nonsense product. Whereas the NFL could turn around and say, instead of the Sunday ticket, we're going to sell all the networks can have all the games, the same way that they did with the NCAA tournament a few years ago, right? Like, once upon a time, Griffin might not remember, but you and I sure as F know that CBS got to choose which NCAA tournament games we were allowed to watch. And if it wasn't your game, if you were a fan of Gonzaga and you lived in Baltimore, you might not get to watch the Gonzaga game, and there was no workaround for it. There was no, I'll just go watch it on the internet. Like, you could watch the one game that they decided that you would be allowed to watch, and if you didn't have that game, you were screwed. That was the way. There was no getting around it. Why the NFL hasn't said to all these networks, hey, if you like paying this much money for football, what if we sold you all of the games? What if on Sunday you could air on CBS one game, and then on CBS Sports Network another game, and then on whatever I don't even know what the next channel would be for CBS because I don't know what Paramount, the Paramount Network, does that still exist? You could air this game.
Yeah.
Like, they're clinging to this Sunday ticket thing that has never made financial sense instead of trying to sell all of the games, which, based on what we've seen that networks are willing to pay for games, would be eminently more profitable and would allow you to market all of your players and not have games that are really good, like Ravens-Dolphins, that only like a third of the country gets to see.
See, I'll know that the NFL's totally sold out when we get a Thursday afternoon game on Tubi or something. So that's when I'll realize.
That would be a little bit different. That would be
over
a little
the
bit
top
different.
NFL.
That one would be a bit different. All right, what's coming up on the Big Bad Morning Show this week?
Well, we're all back tomorrow, getting after it, and then obviously talking about who the Ravens are going to play, which we'll find out today, when that game's going to be, which ultimately is important as well because of the short period of time. I'm assuming that they're playing on Sunday, unless they play the Texans and they could play on Saturday. I mean, look, it's kind of difficult to figure out, but we're getting closer and closer to that game happening, so there'll be a lot of talk about the Ravens this week. And maybe making fun of the Cowboys.
That's always a joy. At JCon Sports, of course, is how you follow him. ConcreteLocks.com. And tonight, Green Turtle Towson, you said?
Yep, I'll be there for the Bills-Steelers game at 4 o'clock, 4:30.
Excellent. Check him out there. Always appreciate you, brother. Love you. We'll talk to you next Monday, all right?
Cool, man. I'll see you.
It's Jeremy Conn on 105.7 The Fan. Of course, the Big Bad Morning Show with us here on GCR. it was a lot of bad shtick this weekend about the Peacock thing. It was a lot of people that all they wanted to do was admit they were old and uncomfortable with change. And they couldn't just acknowledge that's what it was. The NFL has to be guilty here. By the way, for what it's worth, if they put games on NBC that weren't also available on Peacock, that would be a problem.
Right,
and
so
I would
they
say
have to have-
that's unacceptable. What they're telling you is, get away from NBC. Don't have NBC anymore. Get Peacock. That's the product you should have. Stop collecting CDs.
Paramount Plus is $6 a month as well, and they have the Bills Steelers game today.
Correct. And the math
they
still
want-
works for. I was doing this. I was having this conversation with
there's
somebody.
no Fox subscription, so
That one's still a problem.
Yeah.
That is. In order for me to access the Fox Sports app, I have to do what I do with Masson, which is
have a
work out
cable
a deal with
some sort of-
somebody. I worked out an arrangement with somebody that allows me to use their sign-ins in order to access both Fox and Masson. Those are the only two holdouts, I think, that are left.
Yeah, because ABC.
Did we find out you couldn't stream MLB Network last year? Did we figure that out?
Correct. Yeah, I was upset about that. I did not.
You wanted to watch it. You wanted to
I
watch
didn't
a
get to
spring
watch any
training
quick
game.
pitch. Yeah, or
there was a spring training game that we were trying to figure out a way, and we were trying to cast. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. You could stream it on a website, but you couldn't. There was no app to stream it, and we wanted to watch it on this TV in here, and it was an utter nightmare.
Yeah, I had no quick pitch last year. It was.
They got to figure out. They've got some things they got to figure out, right? But it's clear it ain't going backwards. They're not gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, "Nah, we've changed our mind about Peacock.
Yeah,
we're just going back to NBC." And we can start. Everybody starts saying that, well, at some point this doesn't make sense financially. Well, it's never gonna make sense for me to have Discovery Plus. I'm gonna have to. Now, somebody might say, well, what if, Warner Brothers takes TBS and TNT, and now in order to be able to watch, the NBA playoffs, in order to be able to watch the baseball playoffs, in order to be able to watch, I don't.
TBS, those Turner, yeah.
I'm not really all that worked up about the hockey playoffs, but if the Coyotes are in it, then I'm going to want to watch. Now you got to subscribe to Discovery Plus. Well, that's going to be a problem for me, right? You're going to start doing all that. I'm already paying for Peacock. I'm already paying for Hulu. I'm already paying for ESPN Plus. I'm already paying for, then you start doing the math, and at some point, it might end up adding up to a number you don't like. I got to be honest with you. The one that's in most peril for me is Netflix.
Oh yeah, Netflix. I think this is our last month of Netflix. We're done. It's $30 a month, or almost $30 a month.
It's out of control. Well, I $30 a month.
What is it now? It's 24, 25.
Well, it depends on how many
30.
people.
It'll be 30 in about 2 months.
I just paid my Netflix this morning. It was not bad. Hang on a second.
It's 20 plus.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
It was. I'm telling you, I just got my. It was $7.41.
$7.41 for
yeah, because I do I do ads.
Oh, there's ads on Netflix. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they made an offer, and I don't have 5 people on my account.
I guess that's we have the screens. Yeah, it's
I think I have.
But
2.
I'm trying to think of.
What?
I don't know. There's nothing that really.
But that's the real issue. The issue for Netflix is they by not dipping their toes in the live sports scene, they're screwed.
Mm.
The content, I like Peaky Blinders. There's been plenty of Netflix shows that I've liked, but tell me what it is that's coming out on Netflix this year that's a must for me, or that I couldn't just subscribe for a month when that show comes out and then dump it again. I don't even know what shows, new seasons.
I'm trying to think of
Netflix shows.
I
guess if they do
there's really nothing in Tubular, so.
Well, I'm not talking about this week. I mean this year.
Right.
What are the shows that are going to be on Netflix that I have to? I think You Should Leave is on Netflix. I do love.
Yeah, that's true.
I think You Should Leave.
So whenever the next, I think You Should Leave comes out,
I would probably want to subscribe for that
for
month.
15 minutes.
I really would. I genuinely the way that I feel about it. I'd subscribe. I liked Wrestlers. I enjoyed that. That was fun, but not enough so that
Quarterback was good, I guess.
I never watched it. I genuinely did not watch it.
I
like Last Chance U a lot, obviously, and I think they're doing another basketball season of Last Chance U. I'd want to watch that, but again, are all of these things enough for me to justify the amount? Netflix, by not dipping their toes into live sports, Live sports is why I've got to have Peacock. Live sports is why I got to have Paramount Plus. Live sports is why I got to have ESPN Plus, right? Like those apps, I have to have them because they have the live sports. When Masson becomes available, over the top, I'll obviously have to do that.
5 years, yeah.
Maybe more like 20. But Netflix, it's going to go on the chopping block at some point. I'm trying to think of why I wouldn't feel that way about Hulu. Why do I feel like I watch more things?
Yeah, I watch everything on Hulu. Well, it's got like Fargo.
Fargo definitely
it's got
is
Always
high on the
Sunny.
list.
It's got everything.
Oh, and Wrexham.
It's got like all the Fox shows, Wrexham. It's got somehow, I don't know. Yeah, Hulu.
I do feel like I watch a lot more on Hulu than I watch on anything else. And so I can't get rid of
everything.
Hulu.
It's got like
the funny thing is I watched Ted Lasso on Apple TV, but I didn't really watch anything else on Apple TV. And everybody tells me like the morning show's great. Just never really spent any time with it.
I mean, they've got well done stuff, but it's nothing really.
Oh, the Bears on Hulu as well. I gotta watch that. Yeah, I can't get rid of Hulu. Hulu's gonna have to stay no matter what. But at some point I might have to make a decision.
Movie, that Jake Johnson movie just came out this weekend. That was Hulu.
What was that one?
Self-Reliance. It was with Anna Kendrick and Biff
I do remember that now.
It was all right.
Andy
Samberg was.
You spent time with it?
Yeah. It's like a 90-minute movie. It's pretty good. It's well paced.
I don't know if you heard there was football on this weekend.
Yeah.
I was watching that.
Fun time. Yeah, it worked out because we got to sit down with the Maryland game.
I did. That was actually the first time I think I've watched a Maryland game from start to finish all season long. Not joking. I'm pretty sure it's the first Maryland
game. I'll turn this on for that I've watched first 10 minutes.
I was putting, because I had done all my laundry from being away for the week, and I was like, I'm going to put laundry away, and I'll have the Maryland game on in the background. And at whatever point the Maryland game is no longer interesting, whatever, I'll just move on. I'll be finished with my laundry, and I can do something else with my day. Sure enough, they kept me for 40 minutes. Well done. I can't figure out. Like, how do you let Juju Reese beat you when he can't make a free throw? Like, how do you not just say, if he has the ball inside, you see where the paint is?
Yeah.
If he has the ball, foul him. Foul him. It's wild, Jack. Wild, man. But hell of a win for Maryland. It doesn't save their season because they're still not even on the bubble, even after that one win. Like, one win does not a tournament resume make. But it saves their season in that they could build a tournament resume still, whereas until they got a win of value, there was no argument for them with a tournament resume. Like, you just couldn't see a path. They're still not there. They're still not particularly close, but there's at least a path forward now if they could build off of it. Still suspect when, like, you can't make a shot. How sad it is that like, Deshaun Harris-Smith scored 5 points yesterday. And we walk away from that game, like, encouraged about Deshaun Harris-Smith.
Hit a three.
Because he hit one big shot. One big shot. That's how low the bar is. One big shot, and we're like, maybe that can be the moment for Deshaun Harris-Smith. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Proctor's been chiming in all morning. Where's Proctor one?
He missed you, I guess. Yeah.
The hell does Proctor one? Jesus Christ. I have a disagreement about how subscription markets work in general. The point of the cable-cutting movement was to get away from paying Comcast or DirecTV these high monthly fees because from their monopolies of the broadcast landscape, not to recreate the fee in the aggregate by paying $15 here, $8 there, et cetera, et cetera. The big broadcasting groups already pay a ton for NFL broadcast right. Just put the games on. If I am paying for Peacock or whatever, you better not have ads. God, John, I love you. You are paying for NBC and getting ads. There is no free over-the-air TV unless you literally have an antenna. And I happen to know that you don't. It's one of those arguments that sounds good when you make it. You're like, if I've got to pay you for this subscription, I shouldn't be getting ads. It sounds good, right? Like, it sounds like a really smart thing until you realize you're already doing it. It's just something that we haven't been conditioned to think about because we don't look at the cable bill when we get it. We just see the total number. Like, I got to pay $103, whatever it is at this point, that like the basic. By the way, that's the basic Comcast bill. We don't look at how that splits up. But you are paying for the over-the-air channels in your cable bill, and they're serving you ads. You don't get to take the commercials out when you watch CBS. You pay for it, and it serves you ads. Now, he says he does have an antenna.
Does he
I don't.
really?
I,
You know what? I believe him.
he's showing me a picture of it.
He's
Showing me a picture of it. He's really.
just have him
putting
zoom
effort
in and
about
just
that.
give it.
We've talked about HBO shows before. We've talked about. I believe that you subscribe to cable, or you have recently. It's my belief.
So YouTube TV, Hulu Live, like that. Does that counts as technically not cutting the cord yet, or?
I don't know what that. It's an interesting, right? Like, what does that count
It's not
as?
nearly the cost of a cable box.
It's not. It's an interest. I don't know how I view that. That's an interesting. I don't know. That was the plan for me, by the way. Like, my plan when I cut the cord was to do YouTube TV.
Well, let me know if you do, so I refer a friend.
Right, but the problem was you still didn't get Masson.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, what the hell am I?
That was a big problem.
Why do I need? I don't need Comedy Central. I can get Paramount Plus. I don't need these channels. I don't. He says it's been 3 years since he had DirecTV. All right, maybe I'll believe that. But you still have paid
So if
for
you had
content that still served you ads.
If you had an antenna, do you get No, you don't get Masson.
No.
Here?
No,
Okay.
you do not get Masson with
I
an
don't know how an
antenna.
antenna works.
No, you only get you would get CBS,
four?
NBC, Fox, ABC, and I guess you would still get the CW, I think.
Oh.
I
I
still think you
I
would
believe
get.
they're moving to CW.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean they're moving?
They're dropping the.
Oh, it's a Facebook situation?
Yeah. It's CW.
It's Justin Timberlake's walking in and saying, like, it's really cool, $1 billion. It's one of those situations. Well, they're getting more sports, too, I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they have. They're doing some ACC basketball.
Well, they've been doing that, but I thought I saw something else that they were going to be doing. Oh, well, they're doing they're getting WWE. They're getting NXT is moving to CW moving forward. It's an old guy argument, man. You guys are making an old guy argument. You're going to have to do it. You don't have to like it, but you're going to have to do it. This is trying to cling to your floppy disks. I love my floppy disks. I won't give up my floppy disks.
That's why
They're not going to let you use the floppy disks anymore.
I'm just gonna stay. I'm just gonna do whatever I have to do. Just do whatever they tell us to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Just follow along.
If the idea is just I want to rage against the machine, like, God bless you, rage away, but you're gonna lose. Like, the machine's gonna win. I don't know how to tell you this. Once they decide this is where they're going, it's where they're going. Your argument is null. And there's no more. Everybody wants to make this a moral high ground thing. There's no moral high ground here. Do you want the product? Do you want to be able to watch the Thanksgiving parade on Thanksgiving? Then you have to pay for NBC in some form or fashion. Now, your argument, I've been able to do it with an antenna. God bless you. God bless you. And if you don't care about like any of these other things, that's the way it goes. We don't charge people for Glenn Clark Radio. We try to do it by advertising. I don't. Somebody would tell me that I'm an idiot for that. That I should be charging people. Should make it $2 a show or something like that. I would rather not do that. I would strongly rather not do that. But like, you have to pay for content. Like, that's the way this works. It would be one thing if they were charging $50 for Peacock. There would be a problem at that point. Like, at some point, if they continue to try to make these prices go up and up and up and up and up, then there will be a breaking point. 100%. There will be a point at which we as a collective say, nope, sorry, we're not paying this much for all of these things. That's the way it's going to go.
So what did Netflix used to be? So if you're still paying $7.50 or whatever.
Pull up what my Netflix is.
Or like, what did it used to? What did it start as? Was it like the whatever the Bear plan? Like, I didn't realize Netflix was now doing ad based.
Yeah, they're doing ads.
Ad-based plans.
Trying to pull up what I have.
You know what? It doesn't.
I actually have 4 profiles on my Netflix too. I have profiles from,
and so it's like you can.
But they're all in the same house, I guess, because it's my kids. We're all in the same house. So what is my account?
You know,
just give away. I'm just gonna give away my Netflix. Here's my password. Here's my. Where is my? I've got the standard with ads plan, which is $6.99 a month.
Oh.
You can have the standard plan.
And how many what concurrent?
The standard
streams?
plan is you can have on 2 devices. I have ad breaks and 2 devices, which is weird because I've definitely watched on the TV here in the office.
I guess maybe they mean 2 devices at once. I guess.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. That could be that. It could be two devices at once. That makes sense. So that's what I have for $6.99 a month. For $15.49 a month, you get ad free. So ad free is more than twice the amount of paying for the ads. I'll live. I'll be okay. Premium, you can get 6 devices.
Okay.
And that's $23.
Okay, so I guess that's what we.
That must be what you have.
What we were doing
Yeah.
because there's, it's just my brother, my sister, and I, my mom. We'd
Yeah.
all be on at the same time.
And now you're all living in different places.
Yeah.
Well, not all of you. You're still living at home. But,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
get it. I get it. One of these, if we just started charging $2 a show,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
you could get out of living at
Yes.
home. Maybe that would be the case.
Get my own Netflix account.
Right. All right, $2 a show it is. It's going to Griffin and having Netflix. Tidbit is brought to you by Project Game Day. It returns this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, depending when the game is. Myself,
Monday.
Rita, Femi, no, I don't think so, but I guess you never know. KZ, Steck, Josh Charles, the whole crew will be hanging out with you following the Ravens divisional round game, hopefully celebrating and not doing the other thing because that would be very sad and dark. You can join us, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline. It's all brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
All right, so this would have been So yesterday, Damian Lillard hit a buzzer beater for the Bucks.
He did.
It
was,
so
did I see it was his 2,500th career made 3?
was it really?
I believe so.
It was so also Wisconsin at the same time became the first state to win an NFL playoff game and an NBA game on a buzzer beater on the same day. Since
On a buzzer beater?
yeah, so your NBA team won on a buzzer
Oh,
beater.
the NBA team specifically had to win on a buzzer beater,
And
while
then your NFL team
could just
won
win in any form or fashion.
Won a playoff game.
That's as dumb gets. That is
The
not
last
a thing.
time this happened, it happened for 2 cities.
Oh,
on
sure.
the same day.
Okay.
That would have been
Well, Green Bay and Milwaukee are 2 different cities.
sorry, the last time it happened for the same, region, whatever. But it happened to be the last time it
This
happened.
is
for the
as
same
forced as I've ever seen the attempt at making
sorry,
something
states.
a tidbit.
Yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, I guess this is it. Now I'm reading. It is state. Yeah, it doesn't work.
It does not work.
There was a city. There was a city that it happened for.
Los Angeles.
2006, January 22nd.
Boston.
No.
Indianapolis.
No.
It wouldn't be Pittsburgh.
So they counted Pittsburgh because they said the same state. So the Steelers won the
And
NFC
the
championship.
76ers.
The 76ers. Andre Iguodala hit a.
It is
buzzer beater.
absolutely, definitively not a thing. Not a thing in
The other
any
team
way.
heading to the Super Bowl, they did have this in the same city.
Seattle.
Well,
they still had basketball back
yes,
then.
they did. So Ray Allen hit a 3-pointer for the Seattle Supersonics.
What a definitive not a thing that tidbit was.
Jordan Love, he became only the he became the 6th player to have at least 7 games with 3 offensive touchdowns and no giveaways in a season. So he had 7 games of 3 touchdowns and 0 turnovers.
Okay.
He became the 6th player to do this. Can you name the other 5? There's 1 non-quarterback.
Probably not. Okay. So Mahomes
No. Patrick Mahomes has not done this yet.
throws a lot. I mean, I get it. Brady.
Yes, Tom Brady did this in 2016.
Peyton.
Peyton did not accomplish this one.
Proctor went Steve Young because I always miss it.
Not Steve Young.
Joe Montana.
No, not Joe Montana. All these guys are
Kurt Warner.
Not Kurt Warner.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers actually did this 5 times.
Oh, that's it. And he defeated science. So look at him.
Yeah, he did it in 2020. So
Phillip
really did it.
Rivers.
Not Phillip Rivers.
Russ.
Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, not the only Green Bay Packer quarterback.
Oh, Brett Favre.
Favre,
now,
Rodgers,
how is that?
and Love.
All he does is throw interceptions.
He got through his season in Minnesota. Apparently, he made it through 7 games without a turnover, as well as 3 touchdowns.
Proctor wants Dante Culpepper.
No, not Dante Culpepper.
It's very random. Drew Brees.
Not Drew Brees. There's an active quarterback that has done this.
Josh Allen.
Not Josh Allen.
Lamar Jackson.
And not Lamar Jackson.
Joe Burrow.
Not Joe Burrow.
Smoking that Joe Burrow. Stafford.
Matthew Stafford, yes. And then the other one is a non-quarterback. Did this in 2006. So he had 7
Sean
games.
Alexander.
Not Sean Alexander.
Jerome Bettis.
Not Jerome Bettis. Right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
Right there.
With the
It's a running back.
Yeah, it's a
yes,
running
I
back.
figured that
In
much.
2006, they played in 2006.
Jamal Charles.
No, I don't think he played in 2006.
Really? I don't know. They all run together, pal. Give them my age. Adrian Peterson.
No. Also, was he 2006?
LaDainian Tomlinson.
LaDainian Tomlinson. 7 such games of 3 touchdowns.
All right.
No turnovers.
All right, good
So
for
that is
him.
the list Jordan Love joins.
How about that?
So everyone thinks, Packers got their guy.
I saw this one from Alex Kozora.
That came
over
from
the weekend.
Tony Holtzman Escarino, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
There are now Joe Flacco became the 5th quarterback to throw multiple pick sixes in a playoff game in history.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre that's the reason why Brett Favre is on the list. You might be able to get one other one. That's it. Maybe. And you'd have to
Yeah.
You're not going to. Jim Hart, Todd Collins, and Rich Gannon.
The coach of the Cardinals.
Yes, exactly right. Rich Gannon, who everybody knows coaches the Cardinals.
Sorry, Jonathan Gannon. Sorry, Jonathan Gannon.
Hey, Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Some interesting lines, by the way. You could bet right now for the Ravens to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. 5-1 odds for that exact Super Bowl result. 5-1 for the Ravens to beat the 49ers. 12-1 for the Ravens to beat the Lions. 30-1 for the Ravens to beat the Eagles. 30-1 for the Ravens to beat the Packers. 100-1 for the Ravens to beat the Bucks in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl exact results are available. All of the not all of the favorites, but the favorite is 49ers over Ravens at plus 450. Ravens over 49ers plus 500. Go sign up right now. Use that code GlennClark23 when you sign up. Receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Tubular is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. CBS, Steelers-Bills at 4:30. I don't think they'll switch to doing 2 games each day on Wild Card Weekend, but it is a holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to work, but like
kind of works.
I kind of don't know that it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like maybe I could give up one of the Saturday games and do like one Saturday game, like a 6:30 Saturday game. Or if they move the times on Sunday and did it like
Maryland keeps playing before 4 on Sundays.
Right.
Then it works.
I'm like if they changed the Sunday games it'd be like 3 and 6:30. If they did like 3 and 6:30 all 3 days. I'm listening is what I would say. ESPN and ABC tonight for Eagles Buccaneers at 8:15. By the way, if it's Ravens Texans, that'll be on ESPN and ABC. If it's Ravens Steelers, that'll be on CBS. Loyola Hoops at home tonight at 7 o'clock against American. That's on CBS Sports Network as well. Australian Open coverage continues tonight, 7 on ESPN Plus, 11:30. On ESPN2, it's the final day of the first round, so anybody who hasn't played yet will play tonight, including Iga Swiatek, the number 1 seed, and Carlos Alcaraz play their openers. By the way, Iga Swiatek, if I remember correctly, opens against Sophia Kenin, which is wild.
Really?
That's how far Sophia Kenin has
that's
fallen.
Not fair.
It's brutal. Big Ten hoops. Fox has Ohio State, Michigan right now. Little afternoon hoops on Fox, followed by Villanova Marquette at 2:30. Big Ten Network tonight for Iowa, Minnesota at 6 o'clock. And it makes sense on Martin Luther King Day because when you think about like places where they probably care the most about Martin Luther King, you think about places like Iowa and Minnesota. Like those are the types of teams. It's a bad joke. Monumental Network, Pistons Wizards at 3 o'clock. If you hate yourself. I mean, if you truly hate yourself, you should have made this a side bet. You have to watch the Pistons Wizards game.
Darn it, yeah.
3 o'clock.
Can we make it? Well, it's not too late, is it?
It's definitely. I've got a game. I can't.
Well, I'll replace it as my losing. I'll pay my
No.
debt.
NBA TV
Right
Rocket Sixers at 1, Thunder Lakers at 10:30. TNT has Spurs Hawks at 3:30, Warriors Grizzlies at 6. The USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Anything non-sports wise?
Not the Primetime Emmy Awards hosted by Anthony Anderson. Those are on Fox at 8 o'clock tonight.
If the Bear is going to win all of them.
And of course, the reason to have Peacock, Barmageddon.
That's right.
Is on
yes.
USA tonight at 11. AJ McCarron is going to be on Barmageddon tonight.
Sure.
Going against Bill Engvall.
Sure. Definitely a thing.
No, that's it. That is
Okay.
it. That's it.
All right, very good. Thanks to everybody, or thanks today to Jeremy Conn. Thanks to Sammi Siragusa. Again, please come join us tonight, 6 to 8 o'clock at Guilford Hall Brewery. We'll be watching football. We'll be drinking Goose Flights beer. We'll be supporting Goose Flights. It's going to be a great night. Come hang out with us tonight, 6 o'clock at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. I'll be there a couple minutes late, but not very late. Just a couple minutes late. I got a basketball game at 4 o'clock today. All right, so yes, come join us tonight. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks also to Jason Cole and to Dan Wilcox. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, our annual tradition continues. Dave Ginsburg joins us. He will unveil his Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, and we will yell about that tomorrow. Some of our regular Tuesday stuff tomorrow, and we'll start looking ahead to the Ravens' opponent, which we will know tomorrow morning. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Harford County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Loyola Hoops. Duke sucks.